Ryu Mihara looks confused after hearing his name. In an unfamiliar place suddenly, a voice tells Ryu Mihara he died in an accident, leaving him shocked and trying to understand. The man explains reincarnation systems, stating Ryu was chosen after dying. The man offers Ryu a chance to reincarnate in a different world, explaining it simply to him. Accepts calmly, Ryu asking questions while the man explains reincarnation as a common concept in stories. Ryu asks if the man is God, but learns he is an angel reading thoughts nearby. He questions the purpose of reincarnation, but the angel explains he did not decide that himself. The angel states higher beings made the decision, leaving Ryu uncertain about his future after reincarnation. The angel advising Ryu to live freely without specific expectations placed upon him. Ryu deciding to live calmly in the new world without rushing or chasing goals. The angel explains the new world resembles Earth, with swords, magic, and similar physical laws overall. He introduces the world called Phi, stating some people can use magic while others cannot. Ryu learns his attribute is water and cannot be changed, leaving him slightly disappointed but accepting. The angel explains magic aptitude is fixed at birth, meaning Ryu will only use water abilities. Ryu realizes his power comes from higher beings, understanding his abilities are predetermined beyond his control. The angel explains water magic is useful, and Ryu is considered fortunate compared to most people. Ryu realizing water is essential for survival, especially in places lacking proper infrastructure systems. Later, Ryu learns healing belongs to light magic instead of water abilities. The angel explains magic types and suggests Ryu focus on water, though other magic might be possible. Ryu asks about improving strength. Learning effort matters most since the world lacks a structured leveling system. The angel explains abilities improve through practice, comparing them to human physical growth. Ryu worries about effort, but the angel assures him abilities grow naturally through repeated use over time. After explanations finish, the angel asks Ryu about his wish before proceeding with the reincarnation process. Ryu calmly states he wants a quiet life in a place without people, avoiding unnecessary complications. The angel preparing a forest home near the ocean, giving Ryu resources. Ryu asks how to use magic, wanting to understand before leaving and entering the new world. The angel explains, magic requires clear imagination, advising practice and experience. Ryu suddenly loses consciousness, feeling his body falling as the transfer to another world begins immediately. He awakens lying on a bed, realizing he has successfully reincarnated into the unfamiliar new environment. Ryu looks around the wooden house, confirming he is alone and has truly arrived in another world. Stands inside the house, Ryu observing the interior and realizing it appears old, but still functional. He explores further, checking rooms and layout carefully, confirming the house is spacious and prepared for living. Ryu discovers a bath area, feeling relieved since it reminds him of familiar comforts from his previous life. He reflects on the angel's preparation, realizing the environment was arranged thoughtfully to match his original lifestyle. Ryu finds books about plants and monsters, understanding they are meant to help him survive here. Reads a note explaining stored food outside, Ryu realizing the angel prepared supplies thoughtfully for survival. He picks up a knife, understanding there is no special system, meaning he must rely on himself. Ryu equips the knife carefully, preparing himself mentally since there are no additional tools available nearby. He steps outside and observes the vast landscape, noticing unfamiliar flying creatures. As he watches cautiously, Ryu deciding to avoid danger while understanding this world contains unknown threats. Ryu stands outside, realizing he is truly in another world, slowly accepting his new reality alone. The angel appears again, mentioning Ryu's high mana capacity while reflecting briefly on his own past thoughts. The angel reveals hidden traits exist, explaining Ryu may discover them over time if he survives long. A panel shows Ryu possesses a hidden trait called eternal youth, indicating a rare and significant ability. Ryu realizes he can only use water magic after arriving in a new world. He experiments with water magic, forming floating droplets, feeling surprised during his first attempt. Recalls physics knowledge, Ryu believing natural laws still apply, helping him understand magic behavior. Ryu learns monsters avoid the house, deciding he must prepare before leaving safety outside. He checks supplies, noting limited food, holding a knife, planning survival before resources completely run out. Ryu realizes using only a knife against monsters is dangerous. Observing powerful water columns nearby, studies water flow. Ryu understanding magic depends on image, despite humans not seeing molecules. He imagines hydrogen bonding, believing knowledge allows him to control water structure effectively. Ryu attempts freezing water by stopping molecular motion, shaping it while testing magic control limits. Feels exhausted after using magic, realizing his power is limited and requires careful usage. On the 5th day, Ryu grills rabbit meat, continuing survival routine while adapting to environment. Reviews stored food, Ryu using magic to defrost and cook, aiming to improve daily efficiency. Ryu reads beginner books about monsters and plants, realizing preparation is necessary before leaving safely. He studies herbs and antidotes, understanding crafting medicine is difficult, planning careful future actions. Before sleeping, Ryu practices magic repeatedly, creating ice and vapor, steadily improving control and proficiency. Ryu tests water movement, realizing ice forms quickly, but loses mana before achieving flight. He trains physically and gathers resources within barrier, maintaining strength while continuing daily survival efforts. Practices magic every night, Ryu repeating water control processes, steadily improving efficiency through constant repetition. After 13 days, Ryu prepares weapons, combining physical tools and magic, thinking about useful combat techniques. He creates an ice weapon, naming it Icicle Lance, acknowledging flight remains beyond his current ability. Ryu prepares to leave, planning to gather materials and antidote grass, setting clear daily objectives. He steps outside barrier cautiously, sensing its edge, realizing he has finally entered dangerous territory. Moves through forest carefully, Ryu following direction toward coast, maintaining awareness of surroundings and threats. He searches for plants, collecting samples, then reaches elevated ground, noticing something unusual ahead nearby. Discovers a large river, Ryu observing landscape, understanding new area while preparing for further exploration. Ryu reaches river bank, explores rocky area, then slips down slope, surprised by unstable terrain, finds quartz crystals, collecting them. Ryu carefully, recognizing their usefulness for starting fires later. He decides to leave river quickly, aware water attracts danger, moving cautiously through forest again. Ryu plans route using barrier position, ensuring safe retreat path if unexpected threats appear nearby. Considers possible monsters, Ryu realizing assumptions are risky, staying alert while advancing deeper into forest. Ryu searches forest for antidote grass, worrying about danger, regretting not bringing reference book. Suddenly he encounters a lesser boar, freezing in fear as his body refuses movement. The boar attacks violently, striking Ryu and sending him flying across ground with heavy force. Injured, Ryu struggles to stand, facing charging boar, realizing he must fight to survive. He creates ice wall barrier, blocking attack, desperately using magic to stop the approaching boar. Ryu regains focus, deciding to attack. Realizing he can use his ice magic effectively now, launches Icicle Lance, Ryu striking the charging boar, piercing deeply and stopping its attack instantly. He collapses from exhaustion, while the boar lies defeated nearby, confirming his magic works successfully. Ryu hunts lesser boars, learning monsters use magic instinctively, improving his survival through repeated battles. He recalls magic grows with usage, training constantly, understanding monsters are naturally stronger from birth. As he defeats enemies using crystal attacks, Ryu realizing his power now surpasses weaker monsters during combat. Remains focused and calm, Ryu progressing steadily, choosing careful growth instead of reckless advancement. Stands beside defeated boar, Ryu studying results, confirming his training increases strength and control effectively. Ryu studies monsters, learning magic stones differentiate them from animals, making them stronger and dangerous. Observes normal animals nearby, he realizing not all creatures are monsters within this forest area. Watches crocodiles hunting, Ryu understanding even normal carnivores can threaten humans under certain conditions. He sees monster attacking animal, realizing creatures here do not follow expected natural balance rules. Recalls encyclopedia, Ryu recognizing monster, becoming cautious after understanding danger based on gathered knowledge. Ryu identifies horned bison monster, noting strength, behavior, and danger. After seeing it kill crocodile watches aftermath, Ryu understanding brutal food chain, where stronger creatures dominate weaker ones without hesitation. He considers using water magic attack, observing situation carefully instead of immediately interfering in fight. Sees injured bison collapse, he realizing battle outcome while maintaining safe distance from dangerous creature. Notices fish gathering, Ryu understanding blood attracts predators, confirming harsh ecosystem where everything feeds continuously. Ryu trains water magic daily, creating jets and variations, improving precision and maintaining consistent practice. Develops new techniques, he forming rotating blades and ice tools, expanding magic uses for survival. Ryu balances magic and physical training, building stamina, preparing himself for unpredictable situations outside safely. Encounters fast-moving snake, Ryu recognizing dangerous speed, immediately preparing himself for possible sudden attack. He faces Snake Monster, observing wind attacks, focusing carefully while readying defense and counterattack actions. Ryu dodges Snake attack, moving quickly, avoiding wind blades while preparing to counterattack carefully. Concentrates. He gathering water around him, focusing mind, controlling flow to strengthen his next move. Ryu uses Water Magic Squall, releasing heavy rain, disrupting Snake's attack, and limiting its movement. He endures Poisonous Vapor, washing it away with water, maintaining focus, despite dangerous conditions. Faces Roaring Snake. Ryu staying calm, observing opening, preparing decisive strike to finish battle. Ryu strikes Snake with Ice Attack, piercing body, gaining advantage as creature begins weakening. He observes venom washed away by rain, realizing his magic effectively neutralized dangerous poison. Faces Assassin Hawk. Ryu learning its wind attacks are fast, invisible, and highly dangerous. Hawk attacks rapidly, striking ground, forcing Ryu to evade while maintaining distance and awareness. Regains balance. Ryu focusing sharply, preparing counterattack while enduring pressure from fast-approaching enemy. Ryu avoids deadly attack, realizing new enemy differs greatly, surviving only by reacting immediately. He reflects on danger, understanding hesitation leads to death, deciding to stay cautious moving forward. Reviews Monster Encyclopedia. Ryu learning many creatures exist, realizing knowledge is incomplete and unreliable. Ryu studies powerful beings, understanding extreme threats exist, far beyond enemies he has faced. He decides not to chase strength, choosing safer path, focusing on survival rather than ambition. After 1 year, Ryu stands under moonlight, reflecting on growth, remaining cautious despite increased experience. Ryu carries hunted prey, continuing routine, showing steady survival, accepting harsh life without seeking greater ambitions. After 1 year, Ryu stands near lake under moonlight, reflecting on time spent surviving. A headless knight appears suddenly, holding a sword, revealing itself as a dangerous Dullahan. The Dullahan moves forward silently, its presence heavy, approaching Ryu across the quiet terrain. Ryu analyzes creature, recalling myths, realizing it differs from known monsters and lacks clear classification. Prepares for battle, Ryu gripping weapon firmly, judging opponent's strength while staying cautious and focused. Ryu clashes with Dullahan using swords only, recognizing opponent's skill, choosing to avoid magic entirely. He is struck down repeatedly, feeling overwhelmed, realizing Dullahan treats fight as one-sided training. After landing 3 hits, Dullahan stops attacking, leaving Ryu behind as if ending lesson. Ryu reflects on fight, noticing he dealt no damage, questioning unclear rules governing Dullahan encounters. Over time, their battles extend longer, showing Ryu gradually improving while enduring repeated difficult encounters. Ryu senses change within himself, reacting faster, his body sharper while facing Dullahan attacks directly. He lands a hit successfully, but Dullahan counters immediately, sending him flying across battlefield again. Falls injured, Ryu realizing he was struck 3 times, marking another failed attempt during training. Dullahan prepares next strike, calmly, gripping sword firmly, maintaining overwhelming pressure against weakened Ryu. Observing details, Ryu notices Dullahan weapon closely, trying to understand opponent while recovering strength. Ryu receives a sword from Dullahan, understanding it as recognition, deciding to train harder. Stretching muscles, Ryu begins physical training daily, improving endurance, correcting weaknesses revealed during previous battles. Ryu combines magic training and combat practice, using experience and discipline to steadily improve his abilities. He practices sword technique carefully, controlling blade movement with both hands, refining accuracy and coordination. Adjusting strategy, Ryu fights Assassin Hawk again, improving breathing and speed, gradually mastering combat movements. Ryu repels the Assassin Hawk, using improved magic, barely surviving while reaching his physical limits. Recalls near-death moments, Ryu realizing fear has struck him deeply after repeated dangerous encounters. He moves within Water Sphere, reflecting on past battles. Recognizing this experience felt more intense, Ryu prepares again for another confrontation, steadying himself mentally, ready to face the enemy once more. A larger, darker Assassin Hawk appears, spreading wings, confronting Ryu with far greater threatening presence. Ryu notices enemy is larger and darker, realizing this opponent differs from previous Assassin Hawk. The creature attacks fiercely, overwhelming Ryu with powerful strikes, forcing him into defensive retreat. Suspect's evolution, Ryu confirming enemy identity, recognizing increased danger while struggling against relentless attacks. Ryu uses ice armor and spears, but attacks fail. Enemy breaks defenses with overwhelming strength. A sudden impact occurs, shocking Ryu, as unexpected force interrupts battle, leaving him confused and exposed. Ryu attempts magic, but it fails suddenly. Realizing enemy can nullify magic during battle, a powerful explosion strikes, forcing Ryu back, as enemy attack overwhelms his position instantly. Ryu loses control of weapon, panicking, as enemy closes distance quickly with aggressive movement. The Dark Hawk dives repeatedly, attacking relentlessly, pushing Ryu into continuous defensive situation without pause. Ryu understands sword channels, magic, focusing energy through weapon, preparing decisive counterattack against enemy. Closing distance, Ryu strikes forward with sword, confronting Dark Hawk directly, despite overwhelming size. The Hawk speaks, revealing past actions, asserting dominance, while Ryu remains calm and acknowledges truth. Ryu kneels briefly, expressing gratitude, recognizing battle shaped his growth and strengthened his resolve. The Hawk declares final strike, honoring fallen master, preparing decisive attack against Ryu without hesitation. Ryu stands injured yet firm, accepting outcome. As their long conflict reaches its inevitable conclusion, Ryu returns to battlefield location, observing ground, feeling uneasy. Despite confirming outcome of previous fight, suddenly senses presence. Ryu mind blanking as something unknown appears before him unexpectedly nearby. Ryu sees a massive dragon descending, realizing danger immediately, while instinctively preparing to escape quickly. The dragon confronts Ryu directly, towering over him, initiating contact through unknown telepathic communication. He struggles to understand dragon's voice, confused by situation while realizing encounter is extremely dangerous. Ryu confirms telepathy works, recognizing dragon before him, calming slightly while understanding situation clearly. The dragon asks about a bird monster, explaining interest while Ryu listens despite confusion. Ryu realizes question refers to creature he killed, responding carefully while apologizing for possible connection. The dragon denies relation, explaining missing response, confirming situation differs from what Ryu assumed. Ryu admits defeating the creature, while dragon reflects quietly, showing curiosity about the disappearance. Ryu confirms defeating creature, while dragon questions how he succeeded. Despite magic nullification ability, the dragon reacts strongly, stating magic nullification is abnormal, showing surprise at Ryu's unusual combat success. Ryu reveals sword origin, explaining Dulha gave it, while dragon identifies it as Fairy King weapon, explains his water magic, Ryu stating sword saved him, while dragon recognizes Fairy King connection. The dragon concludes Fairy King favors Ryu, assuming guidance, while Ryu denies receiving direct teaching. Ryu explains he learned swordsmanship, not magic, confusing the dragon about his unusual abilities. The dragon comments on Fairy King's long life, suggesting interest in Ryu is meaningful. Ryu asks about the region, while dragon explains Rondo subcontinent size and limited knowledge. The dragon describes surrounding geography, mountains enclosing area, isolating northern lands from human settlements. Ryu learns he is alone here, surprised, while dragon questions his origin and lack of awareness. Ryu explains reincarnation from Earth, while dragon accepts calmly, noting travelers from other worlds exist. The dragon suddenly attacks, forcing Ryu to react quickly, showing overwhelming strength and dangerous intent. The dragon stops, apologizing for summoning Ryu, then leaves, ending their brief encounter unexpectedly. The dragon warns Ryu about eastern mountains, advising caution against hostile dragons before departing. Witnesses massive distant explosion. Ryu realizing the dragon's power far exceeds anything he imagined before. The dragon unleashes immense power, creating massive explosion, while Ryu watches overwhelmed by its intensity. The dragon moves across distant terrain, demonstrating dominance, while another creature reacts cautiously nearby. The dragon reflects on Ryu, finding him unusual, questioning his nature and origin with curiosity. The dragon observes world changes, expressing interest in watching events unfold over time again. Returns home, Ryu sitting alone inside damaged house, reflecting quietly on danger and his situation. Ryu cuts hair and nails, noticing no aging, realizing his body remains unchanged over time. He washes quietly, thinking about hunting, while recognizing his appearance stays permanently young and unchanged. Arrives at the coast, Ryu surprised by movement, noticing something unusual appearing along shoreline nearby. Ryu finds wrecked people, assessing situation, realizing survivors are injured and unlikely to survive long. Approaches one survivor, Ryu observing closely, preparing to act while unsure how to help effectively. Ryu finds injured person bleeding heavily, realizing wound is critical and survival seems unlikely. Examines body carefully, Ryu focusing on internal flow, preparing to use water magic for treatment. Ryu recalls human body composition, understanding blood contains water, enabling possible manipulation through magic. He locates bleeding point, controlling blood flow, stopping loss by carefully adjusting internal movement. Stabilizes wound successfully, Ryu managing blood circulation, confirming he saved the injured person temporarily. Ryu carries injured man from shore, moving steadily, bringing him safely away from dangerous coastline. The man wakes suddenly shocked, calling out. Realizing he survived and is no longer alone. Looks around house, the man confused by surroundings, questioning size and purpose of unfamiliar place. He notices sword and equipment nearby, recognizing items, thinking about their owner and situation. The man introduces himself as Abel, thanking Ryu. While Ryu explains how he rescued him, Ryu learns Abel survived alone, others died, realizing situation involved smugglers and dangerous circumstances. Listens carefully, Ryu understanding Abel's speech slightly, noting differences while recalling knowledge from Michael. Ryu introduces himself properly, suggesting they eat together, trying to ease tension between them. Abel reacts quietly, while Ryu mentions clothes drying outside, continuing to support him after rescue. Ryu explains others died, while Abel survived, while he acknowledging Ryu saved him from the shore. Abel reflects on friends, realizing danger ahead, while accepting uncertainty about survival and future plans, decides to leave. Abel wanting to find friends, while Ryu listens and considers his decision. Ryu explains direction uncertainty, warning about long travel, while Abel prepares himself for difficult journey. Calls Abel Ryu suggesting he join him, offering companionship as they face future challenges together. Abel calls Ryu, reacting with surprise while trying to understand his intentions and sudden proposal. They sit together eating, discussing travel, while Abel suggests Ryu guide him toward Loon. Abel insists on paying, admitting confusion about directions, hoping Ryu will agree to assist. Ryu accepts the request, agreeing to leave soon, while Abel expresses relief and gratitude. Informing Abel, Ryu prepares to leave briefly, while Abel watches, understanding this meeting may be temporary. Ryu confronts a powerful enemy, standing firm while the opponent releases overwhelming pressure and energy. Ryu announces departure plans, informing Abel he will leave soon and not return for months. Ryu challenges the enemy seriously, refusing practice, demanding a real fight using full strength. Abel reflects alone, questioning Ryu's words, thinking about his journey and uncertain direction ahead, considers Ryu's behavior. Abel concluding loneliness shapes him, while deciding to trust his judgment moving forward. Abel thinks about traveling, realizing difficulty alone, while considering Ryu's strength and cautious nature. Ryu kneels exhausted after battle, facing a powerful opponent, questioning if the challenge was meant. The opponent stands calmly, emitting pressure, while Ryu speaks carefully, trying not to offend. Abel and Ryu walk together, discussing teachers, equipment, and preparations for the journey ahead. They continue moving, considering gifts received, wondering about effects, while preparing for uncertain travel. Ryu and Abel decide to leave together, beginning their journey while looking back once. They travel north, avoiding wetlands, until a wild boar suddenly appears and attacks them. Abel fights the boar, using his skill to strike decisively, bringing it down quickly. Ryu observes closely, learning how combat skills improve strength, speed, and effectiveness during battles. They plan to camp soon, discussing food and shelter, preparing to rest after traveling. They camp inside a hollow tree, resting while Abel warns Ryu to stay alert. Abel sleeps while Ryu stays awake, deciding to practice controlling his magic during night. The forest grows quiet and dark, as time passes and Ryu continues focusing alone. Abel wakes later, showing a rabbit he hunted, while Ryu analyzes the precise killing method. Ryu questions the robe's origin, suspecting it is unusual, while Abel agrees it seems unnatural. Ryu suspecting non-human source, while thinking about spirits and unknown beings. Morning arrives, and Ryu greets Abel, both preparing to continue their journey through forest. They walk deeper into forest, staying alert, scanning surroundings, while maintaining distance for safety. Suddenly something invisible strikes nearby, startling them as a weapon drops from unexpected force. An assassin hawk appears above, using air magic, forcing them to react quickly to danger. Ryu and Abel assess danger, realizing monsters ahead and assassin hawk territory limit escape options. Decide strategy. Ryu assigning Abel to fight boar while he handles the aerial threat. Abel hesitates but agrees, while Ryu explains his advantage as water magician against flying enemy. Ryu warns Abel to stay calm, promising support, as they separate to face different enemies. A large boar charges forward aggressively, forcing Abel to react quickly and engage in battle. Ryu dodges rapid attacks, staying focused, while projectiles strike around him without landing hits. Recognizing danger, Ryu prepares to finish quickly, concentrating fully to avoid fatal mistakes during battle. Abel rushes forward, using sword skill, striking the boar with speed and precise movement. Abel follows with another technique, cutting through the boar, ending the fight with decisive force. Exhausted, Abel kneels heavily, breathing hard while holding his sword, showing strain after intense combat. Feels exhaustion after battle. Abel, realizing fatigue hits him, deciding to return quickly toward Ryu. Abel returns and sees the defeated creature, while Ryu greets him and confirms situation calmly. They regroup safely. Abel reassures he is fine, admitting slight tiredness after intense fighting. Ryu listens as Abel questions Assassin Hawk attacks, realizing invisible airstrikes are extremely dangerous. Considers explanation carefully, Ryu preparing thoughts while knocking. Understanding situation requires attention and proper response. Ryu explains Assassin uses rushing air barrier, making attacks hard to detect and react quickly. He analyzes enemy strength, noting limited magic types, concluding opponent is skilled and requires serious caution. Suddenly attacks strike the cliff, powerful impacts appearing, confirming danger and forcing both to stay alert. Ryu and Abel walk near cliffs, discussing directions, both feeling uncertain about safest path ahead. Abel suggests tossing coin, explaining heads means east, tails means west, deciding direction by chance. Coin result shows heads. Abel quickly decides east, urging Ryu forward without hesitation toward destination. Ryu examines coin closely, unfamiliar with money, showing curiosity while Abel watches his reaction carefully. They discuss regions and currency. Abel explains nations and trade, while Ryu learns about world structure. Ryu and Abel realize they entered Golem Nest, spotting many enemies and sensing immediate danger. Abel explains Golem Nests and numbers, while Ryu considers testing attack despite uncertain situation ahead. Ryu creates powerful ice wall, striking ground forcefully, demonstrating strength to handle incoming threats effectively. He reacts confidently after attack, showing satisfaction, while Abel watches silently, assessing his true capability. They obtain large magic stone. Learning value depends on size, color, and monster strength. Ryu and Abel review battle results, noting planned flaws while gathering spoils from defeated enemies. They discuss survival priorities, agreeing defeating enemies was necessary, while learning magic stones hold value. Ryu notices movement in sky, alerting Abel, both becoming cautious as unknown presence approaches them. They observe massive creature nearby, identifying it as dangerous beast, realizing situation may become serious. Multiple wyverns appear overhead, targeting large creature, as Ryu and Abel watch unfolding aerial battle. Ryu and Abel react as wyvern dives rapidly, launching attacks toward ground and nearby creatures. Wyverns strike repeatedly, creating explosions and dust clouds while attacking large beast from above. Powerful impacts hit ground continuously, shaking area as Ryu and Abel watch in shock. More wyverns circle above, roaring loudly, while Abel explains Behemoth uses magic skillfully during battle. The Behemoth prepares counterattack, roaring as ground trembles, signaling incoming clash against attacking wyverns. The Behemoth roars loudly, releasing energy, while wyverns approach cautiously, sensing sudden dangerous change. Wyverns fall rapidly from sky, crashing down, while Behemoth remains unaffected, showing overwhelming power difference. Ryu observes closely, realizing strange effect, suspecting ability that interferes with magic during battle. They watch fallen wyverns struggle moving, confirming they are not paralyzed but affected by unknown force. Abel considers possibility of dungeon-like trap, while Ryu reacts, realizing situation is more complex. Ryu and Abel discuss dungeon rumors, connecting nullification effect to possible dungeon-like environment nearby. The Behemoth continues fighting, while Ryu considers dungeon mechanics, realizing monsters may share similar abilities. Abel reveals Loon has central dungeon, surprising Ryu as battle continues intensely in background. Ryu questions Abel further, while Abel explains he did not mention dungeon information earlier. They leave battlefield, reflecting on dangerous encounter, acknowledging Behemoth's strength and continuing journey cautiously. A wyvern lands on Behemoth, attacking directly while maintaining control over battlefield position. Ryu and Abel watch closely as sharp ice spikes suddenly form and launch upward. Ice attacks strike wyvern precisely, piercing body, forcing it down while ending its movement. Abel suggests hunting animals next, while Ryu observes surroundings, thinking about their survival needs. They stand near fallen wyverns, recognizing improved strength, while considering future actions carefully. Ryu dries items calmly, feeling confident after battle, believing situation is now under control. Abel warns Ryu to stay alert, sensing danger despite calm surroundings and easy path ahead. A large griffin-like creature suddenly appears, landing before them and blocking their path forward. Both react in shock, preparing themselves quickly as tension rises, and threat becomes immediate. The creature watches closely, showing hunger, signaling it intends to attack them without hesitation. Abel distracts the creature by offering food, allowing Ryu to observe surroundings and search escape. Ryu notices a distant road, alerting Abel quickly, both realizing possible way out nearby. They confirm direction and begin moving toward road, leaving dangerous area while staying cautious together. The Demon Mountain stands isolated, feared by people, rarely approached, and considered dangerous for travelers. Ryu and Abel walk away, realizing they crossed Demon Mountain, discussing dangers and Abel's adventurer rank. Abel explains Adventurer Guild benefits, including identification, selling materials, and exemption from entry taxes in cities. Describes guild services, Abel storing surplus money safely, helping adventurers manage earnings and financial stability better. Ryu listens carefully, feeling surprised, realizing the guild functions similarly to a bank system. Ryu asks about withdrawing money elsewhere, learning guild systems allow access from different cities. Abel explains guild roles during war, travel benefits, and independence from countries within central nations. They discuss risks of war deposits and adventurers being hired, while some refuse such requests. Ryu reflects on dangers, feeling dragged into conflict, considering fighting as unavoidable under circumstances. He spots the distant city ahead, informing Abel as they continue moving toward their destination. Ryu and Abel see Isekai'd ahead, confirming location within Knightly Kingdom, not Dabi Empire. Abel suggests registering in Lun instead, explaining Isekai'd is small and closer to destination. He explains Lun attracts people due to a dungeon, making it largest border city. Ryu worries about identification, while Abel explains guild affiliation allows flexibility and easier treatment there. Abel offers support as guarantor, covering fees, while they plan staying briefly in Isekai'd. Ryu excitedly eats curry rice, enjoying the meal greatly, and quickly asks for another serving. He reflects on curry, remembering effort and travel, feeling nostalgic while struggling to explain it. They walk at night discussing curry availability, while city lights appear ahead across the distance. Ryu silently vows to recreate curry someday, holding determination while thinking about returning to forest. Abel walks into the city streets, entering Isekai'd, as their journey continues toward new opportunities. Ryu asks about security, while Abel explains Isekai'd has patrols and keeps gates open. Explains farmland history, Abel noting people now live outside city, while Ryu observes surroundings carefully. Abel concludes security is stable for city size, while they continue walking through quiet streets. At the gate, Abel pays entry tax, while guards welcome him back and allow passage. Inside city, Abel suggests guild visit, while Ryu decides to register as adventurer immediately. Abel explains registration ranks, recommending Ryu start higher due to his support and experience. Ryu shows magic stones, learning their value, rarity, and benefits of higher rank rewards. They arrive at the Adventurers Guild, preparing to handle registration and related procedures together. Inside, Nina notices Abel, reacting with surprise. As others recognize him and approach quickly, Abel reunites with companions, confirming his return, while Ryu observes his respected status. Ryu learns about Abel's strong party, realizing their abilities and influence within the guild. Later, Abel introduces Ryu, explaining he saved him, asking others to accept him as companion. The party members gather, observing Ryu carefully, while welcoming Abel back after his return. Ryu greets everyone politely, expressing gratitude, showing humility while accepting their supervision and support. Abel recommends Ryu for D-class registration, asking Nina to proceed with guild registration process. Nina requests proper evidence for recommendation, asking what Ryu will provide to support it. Abel agrees and asks to meet Guildmaster, while Nina goes to call him. Ryu waits in reception room, noticing sudden noise as door opens unexpectedly nearby. The Guildmaster rushes in, relieved, expressing concern and happiness over Abel's safe return. Abel introduces Ryu, explaining he saved him, while the Guildmaster notices and questions him. The Guildmaster introduces himself as Hugh McGrath, thanking Ryu for saving Abel, while Ryu responds modestly. Abel explains Ryu's registration, while Guildmaster states he must prove his worth first. Hugh prepares discussion, dismissing others, then sits with them to begin evaluation. Abel states Ryu is stronger than him, surprising the Guildmaster during their conversation. Abel explains their journey, showing monster remains, proving Ryu's strength and combat ability clearly. Ryu examines many green magic stones, recognizing wind attribute, but unsure about their exact origin. The guildmaster identifies them as wyvern stones, shocked by their size and deep color. He explains danger of Demon Mountain, warning such creatures could threaten entire countries if ignored. Abel recounts their journey, explaining how wyverns appeared after crossing Demon Mountain's southern side. They discuss selling stones carefully, deciding to use guild network to prevent market prices collapsing. Hugh agrees to sell stones, explaining profits will be deposited after transactions finish. Abel proposes splitting rewards unequally, offering Ryu larger share, but discussion about fair distribution begins. Ryu refuses advantage, insisting equal split, while Abel expresses gratitude for being saved earlier. As the guildmaster, Hugh supports Abel's view, encouraging Ryu to accept reward properly without hesitation. Nina interrupts politely, reminding them to stay focused as conversation becomes prolonged and unfocused. Ryu listens quietly, processing situation, while others pause discussion and prepare to continue decisions. Lin rushes forward, relieved seeing Abel alive, while he apologizes for causing concern. Abel greets Rhea and Warren, who welcome him back after confirming his safe return. Hugh leaves Ryu and Nina, giving them space to discuss matters privately in room. Hugh orders Nina prepare documents while Ryu sits, sensing tense atmosphere inside guild office. Ryu responds uncertainly when asked about rank, showing hesitation about registering as D-rank adventurer. Hugh explains Abel delivered final blow, but many wyvern stones prove Ryu's major contribution. He states Ryu is powerful, noting even skilled swordsmen cannot defeat wyverns alone in combat. Hugh concludes Ryu qualifies as D-rank, praising his ability while Ryu reacts with modest surprise. Ryu explains he trains stamina alone, ensuring survival during combat without exhausting magical energy. Hugh emphasizes physical strength importance, warning that weak bodies lead to defeat despite magic ability. Nina approaches Ryu and introduces herself formally inside guild as Hugh entrusts paperwork to her. She begins questioning Ryu, while he politely responds, showing cooperation during the registration process. Nina confirms Ryu's water magic and offers temporary lodging to support his early adventurer life. She asks about dungeon experience, while Ryu reflects on unfamiliar paper and mysterious world differences, explains guild seminars and free courses, Nina helping new adventurers prepare for dungeon exploration safely. Nina recommends dungeon seminar, and Ryu eagerly accepts, showing strong interest in learning. Hugh explains seminar details, while arranging application and instructing Ryu about schedule and attendance. Ryu learns local time matches Earth, confirmed by clock tower system used in city. Nina concludes interview, explaining registration steps while Ryu processes familiar yet strange world similarities. Presents crystal tool, Nina instructing Ryu place hand to complete final registration process. Ryu places hand on crystal, completing registration as guild officially records his information. Nina hands guild card, explaining cost, identity function, and importance of keeping it safe. Ryu enters room and sees Abel with companions, including Lin, Warren, and Raya together. Lin announces celebration party for Abel, inviting guild members and thanking guildmaster for support. Abel tells Ryu he is guest of honor, giving him choice during celebration event. Ryu worries about party, while Abel insists he will reserve room at inn. Scene shifts to city streets, showing destination where group plans to celebrate together. Abel explains registration finished, offering to answer questions before they leave guild building. Ryu thanks Hugh and Nina, while Abel prepares group to head back to inn. Nina confirms Ryu is now adventurer of Loon, as he accepts his new role. Hugh cries in relief, overwhelmed after Abel returns safely, remembering fear during his disappearance. He reflects on Abel's survival, noting dangers of mountains and unsuitability of water magic. Hugh admits deep gratitude toward Ryu, acknowledging his role in bringing Abel back safely. Abel speaks with Ryu outside, deciding to buy him proper clothes for city life. Ryu accepts help, explaining he lacked resources before, and agrees to follow Abel. Abel guides Ryu through city streets, suggesting he choose proper casual and formal clothing. Ryu questions staff necessity, while Abel explains mages benefit from using proper magical tools. Abel mentions staff's increased power, while Ryu reveals he uses sword despite limited experience. Reacts surprised, Abel confirming Ryu understands swords beyond simple knives used previously in combat. Ryu recalls complex attack idea, realizing he lacks skills to properly execute such techniques. Abel asks about staff again, while Ryu confidently refuses, continuing through city streets. Ryu demonstrates sword stance, insisting he will rely on weapon despite lacking experience. Abel realizes Ryu might not own proper sword, questioning his understanding of weapons. Ryu shows simple knife, calling it sword, revealing lack of basic combat knowledge. Ryu apologizes, admitting ignorance about common knowledge, while Abel recognizes his unusual background. Ryu admits his ignorance openly, reflecting on his lack of knowledge and unusual situation. Abel reacts with surprise, but accepts it, explaining Ryu must learn basics gradually over time. They arrive at Golden Wave Inn, preparing to join celebration while Ryu braces himself mentally. Ryu follows Nina inside the building as she begins explaining the available rooms. Nina praises Ryu's effort while discussing Abel and recalling yesterday's drinking during celebration. She explains city features and mentions potions, while Ryu questions their effectiveness for recovery. Describes dormitory rules and facilities. Nina explaining responsibilities fall on residents without supervision. She explains cleaning work is outsourced, describing jobs handled by former adventurers in city. Nina shows Ryu his assigned room and explains he will share it with others. She prepares Ryu's name tag and places it at the room entrance for identification, opens the door. Nina announcing arrival, while noticing someone already inside the shared room. Ryu enters and learns Nils and Ito are present, confirming his new roommates. Nils greets Nina energetically while Ito stands calmly, welcoming Ryu into their shared space. Ryu introduces himself to roommates while Nina presents him, explaining he will join room 10. Nils greets Ryu enthusiastically, speaking casually while Nina reminds Ryu about attending class tomorrow. Nils jokes loudly and flirts, while others react, showing his carefree and expressive personality. He explains adventurer life and naming customs, speaking casually while trying to appear impressive. Ito feels relieved about Ryu joining, while Ryu quietly reflects on his unexpected new situation. Nils confirms Ryu's wizard role and mentions upcoming dungeon course, while discussing their different roles. Eamon arrives as new adventurer, introducing himself politely while Nina announces his registration. Nils introduces Eamon to others, explaining he will join Ryu in upcoming classes together. Nina questions Eamon's age, while Nils continues joking, showing his usual carefree behavior. Eamon explains his past and goal, while group prepares for dungeon training starting soon. Lin reacts strongly to Abel's claim, shocked while Ryu watches the unexpected situation unfold. Ryu explains magic limitations, stating spells cannot form far away and must stay near caster. Warren calms Lin, noting Abel's case seems unusual, while others listen and reconsider assumptions. Discussion shifts to healing limits and a large magic stone Abel obtained from a golem. Nils warns Ryu about attention, explaining his talent may attract power struggles and outside pressure. Abel considers possibility Abel might leave Lun, while others discuss trust and recruitment concerns. Raya explains consequences, noting losing Abel would harm both Lun and the Knightly Kingdom. They discuss the Debuhi Empire, concluding Ryu likely would not align with its interests. Raya apologizes and explains decisions made during Abel's absence, including handling quests and rewards. Abel reflects on earnings and missed materials, while others argue about how rewards should be shared. Abel explains he obtained wyvern magic stones and plans to distribute profits through guild. He describes fighting a wyvern during return journey, explaining they defeated it and collected stones. Abel recalls final strike, stating attack pierced wyvern while assisting with coordinated effort. Raya questions the result, noting wyvern defenses should resist magic, making the outcome unusual. Raya and Lin conclude such power is rare, suggesting someone involved possesses exceptional magical ability. Raya describes a powerful mage, explaining destructive feats that demonstrate overwhelming magical strength. A figure stands alone, representing rumors of immense power capable of destroying armies and wyverns. Abel reflects on such mages, stating he would never want to face one directly. Ryu considers magic casting differences, noting some require chance while others act without words. He demonstrates advanced techniques, creating ice attacks from distance, showing unusual control and ability. Abel recalls earlier thoughts, realizing he already suspected Ryu's unusual abilities upon arrival. He confirmed Ryu's strength, noting his magic and combat skills place him above normal adventurers. Discussion mentions powerful mages, warning never to underestimate a wizard as an enemy. Next day begins, showing Ryu resting indoors while recovering from previous events and heavy drinking. Ryu wakes with headache, recalling Abel helped him return safely after the exhausting adventure. Adventurers celebrate loudly in tavern, raising drinks together while enjoying lively atmosphere after recent events. Crowd welcomes Abel back warmly, cheering together while Ryu quietly drinks beside him. Later, Ryu leaves the noisy hall and walks alone, reflecting calmly on everything that happened. Next morning, a staff member greets Ryu and prepares breakfast while he enters the dining area. Ryu learns Abel handled the bill, then prepares to head toward the guild afterward. Ryu sits quietly, reflecting on Abel's character while considering recent events and his actions. Later, he meets Nina again, explaining his plan to visit the guild lodge for guidance. Nina explains activity levels, noting many adventurers use the lodge when not entering dungeons. Training overview explains beginner dungeon seminar, covering basics, exploration, and structured learning sessions. Guild provides equipment for training, helping new adventurers learn safely with potions and tools. Adventurers in Lune trained within upper dungeon layers, improving skills through repeated exploration and practice. They collected materials and magic stones, completing guild tasks to gain experience and raise ranks. Regular dungeon activity built combat experience, with structured schedules balancing exploration and commission work. Higher-ranked adventurers relied less on dungeons, earning more through profitable commissions and safer tasks. As a result, deeper dungeon layers remained mostly unexplored, with little information known about them. Ryu explains deepest explored dungeon level reached 38th, with little progress beyond due to danger. Reflects on dungeon strategy, he considering thinking like a gamer to survive and improve efficiently. Ryu raises his hand during class, asking about transfer options after clearing dungeon floors. Instructor explains such dungeons exist, while other students listen and react to Ryu's question. Instructor describes rules, explaining explorers can leave and return later to continue progression. Ryu understands, but learns nearby ruins dungeon lacks this function. Limiting his planned strategy, Ammon walks ahead silently, while Ryu follows behind, both leaving with different thoughts afterward. Ryu explains his knowledge simply, while Ammon notes his understanding exceeds typical D-rank adventurers. Ryu and others arrive at dungeon entrance, passing gates and entering a large structured facility. Instructor explains monsters can reach surface, so teams are formed to stop them early. Guild records entry times, ensuring explorers are tracked and declared missing if absent too long. Instructor confirms their entry registration, directing Ryu and others to begin dungeon exploration immediately. Eamon feels tense and nervous, while Ryu calmly tells him to relax slightly. Ryu guides Eamon to breathe slowly, helping him regain composure before entering dungeon. The group passes through gates, stepping deeper inside, while others proceed ahead cautiously together. Inside first floor, instructor explains safety rules, time limits, and movement restrictions clearly. The group listens carefully, understanding consequences, while preparing themselves before starting dungeon exploration together. Ryu observes surroundings calmly while Eamon prepares weapon, both maintaining cautious distance inside dungeon. Ryu senses approaching presence first, warning Eamon about incoming danger from unseen direction nearby. Ryu prepares water magic, planning to restrict movement while instructing Eamon to attack afterward. Both stand ready in darkness, focusing ahead as tension builds before enemy appears. A large soldier ant emerges, confirming Ryu's detection and marking their first real battle. The soldier ant approaches closely, positioning itself between Ryu and Eamon inside dungeon space. Ryu explains its weakness calmly, directing Eamon to strike precisely at neck base. Eamon steadies himself, gripping sword firmly, preparing to follow Ryu's instructions without hesitation. Ryu steps forward, activating water magic, focusing on restricting the monster's movement immediately. Forms ice with water, Ryu preparing to immobilize the ant before Eamon attacks. Ryu launches cold water spheres, directing Eamon to strike through the immobilized enemy ahead. Ice spikes pierce the soldier ant, restricting its body and stopping its movement completely. Ryu orders Eamon to attack from side, aiming carefully to cut the ant's head. Eamon moves quickly, closing distance while the immobilized ant remains unable to resist. Eamon successfully strikes down the ant, completing their first coordinated battle inside dungeon. Amon breathes heavily after battle, while Ryu praises him calmly for his effort. He celebrates excitedly, acknowledging teamwork, while Ryu responds positively to their successful cooperation. Ryu suggests collecting materials, explaining dungeon purpose includes earning money through gathered resources. Gathers a magic stone, Ryu calling it Eamon's first trophy from the dungeon. Ryu observes Eamon gaining confidence, noting successful experiences will steadily improve his future performance. Ryu and Eamon celebrate completing training, raising drinks after defeating a soldier ant together. Amon credits Ryu's support, while others remind him his final strike secured victory. Nils cheerfully praises them, encouraging celebration after earning a magic stone reward. At table, discussion turns serious as future plans are considered regarding dungeon exploration. Ryu remains silent, while Eamon hesitates, uncertain about joining random parties moving forward. Eamon eagerly agrees to explore deeper floors, accepting invitation to continue dungeon journey together. Other adventurers discuss unusual monsters, noting soldier ants appearing unexpectedly on first floor recently. Guild reports confirm similar sightings, indicating increasing presence of soldier ants over recent months. Ryu and Eamon consider situation seriously, questioning why stronger monsters appear in higher areas. Group concludes dungeon remains unexplored, suggesting unknown changes causing irregular monster behavior. Recently, Abel explains ants appear above because nests grow deeper, pushing them upward through floors. Nils and Eto react, misunderstanding Abel's tone, thinking he is trying to show off. Abel approaches group, while Ryu is introduced as someone strong but slightly unusual. Nils introduces himself respectfully, acknowledging Abel and expressing admiration as a fellow swordsman. Abel explains their delay, while questioning why others are gathered at guild this late. Lin confronts Abel loudly, reminding him he must report to guild instead of leaving. Abel apologizes quickly, explaining he only intended helping new members. While Warren prepares carrying him, Warren lifts Abel, despite protests, insisting Captain must attend report, while Abel struggles helplessly. Ryu, Eamon, and others watch quietly as Abel is taken away by force. Eamon comments on scene, while Ryu remains calm, observing situation without reacting much. Nils admires Abel greatly, showing excitement, while others remain thoughtful about events. Rune's dungeon's second floor appears, showing a large circular structure with deep center, indicating a dangerous area Ryu must explore carefully. Ryu prepares his magic, focusing calmly, and activates Ice attribute, forming a sharp attack to strike approaching enemies inside dungeon. Ice lance attacks hit monsters directly, piercing their bodies, as Eamon observes behind while Ryu fights efficiently using controlled magic. Eamon looks surprised at Ryu's strength, watching closely, while Ryu remains focused, finishing the attack and checking surroundings for threats. The monsters fall defeated, leaving dark remains, as Eamon acknowledges Ryu's success, and Ryu calmly accepts, preparing to continue deeper exploration. Amon suggests Ryu fight alone next time, warning multiple enemies reduce efficiency, while the girl supports idea, encouraging independent combat growth. He asks Ryu if he feels comfortable fighting alone, while Eamon quietly observes, waiting for Ryu's response and decision. Ryu explains calmly he wants to improve himself, thanking her help, but insists training alone will make him stronger over time. Eamon compares Ryu's sword technique to Abel, questioning its origin, while Ryu recalls learning basics from a former adventurer. A large man is shown as Ryu's teacher, explaining his background, training methods, and influence on Ryu's swordsmanship development. Amon praises Ryu's basics, saying he could match Abel, while Ryu apologizes, admitting he remembers little about his past training. They continue deeper into the dungeon, passing a defeated wolf, as Ryu remains focused and determined to keep improving his combat ability. While walking through a corridor, Eamon questions Ryu's sword familiarity, observing his movements and trying to understand his fighting style. Ryu explains he trained long under a master but mostly used instinct, while the girl reacts with surprise at his dual abilities. Amon demonstrates magic control nearby. He notices Ryu carries no sword, questioning his reliance on magic over weapons. Ryu reveals a glowing sword formed by magic, stating it is his weapon, while Eamon watches closely, surprised by its appearance. Eamon reacts with shock, realizing the blade is created using water magic, while Ryu explains it was given by his master. They continue forward together, as Eamon observes the sword with interest, while Ryu prepares for incoming enemies deeper inside dungeon. Two wolves appear suddenly, charging aggressively toward them, showing clear hostility as they close distance quickly within the dark dungeon. Ryu assigns one wolf to Eamon, then launches a water jet attack, moving decisively to defeat his opponent alone. Ryu's water attack strikes one wolf, lifting it into the air, while the second wolf dodges and continues charging forward aggressively. Eamon engages the other wolf, raising his sword defensively, while the creature leaps toward him, preparing to attack with full force. He steadies himself and focuses, controlling his stance carefully, while Ryu watches nearby, observing Eamon's movements and combat ability closely. Amon leaps upward to avoid damage, conserving stamina. While Ryu analyzes the fight, noting the efficiency and limits of Amon's approach, Ryu reflects on his own training, recalling practicing magic while running, as the defeated wolf lies on the ground after battle ends. Amon defeats the wolf and celebrates briefly, while Ryu praises him calmly, observing his effort and confirming his ability to fight independently. Ryu creates a large ice barrier around them, forming strong protective walls, securing the area to prevent further enemy attacks temporarily. Amon apologizes for being exhausted, while Ryu suggests resting, explaining the ice walls are durable enough to safely allow recovery time. Amon collapses from fatigue after intense fighting, while Ryu watches with concern, realizing Eamon pushed himself beyond his physical limits. They observe the clear ice walls surrounding them, discussing their unusual transparency, while Ryu explains the properties caused by pure water magic. Ryu explains the clear ice structure, stating impurities were removed by magic, while Eamon listens and observes the surrounding frozen environment carefully. Amon expresses amazement at water magic, while Ryu calmly acknowledges and continues explaining small improvements in controlling magical properties. Amon discusses combat experience, explaining fighting alone differs from groups, while Ryu listens, observing the defeated monster, and considering stamina usage. Ryu advises stamina training, explaining it prevents weakness, while Eamon reacts with interest, realizing improving endurance is essential for future battles. Ryu further explains daily training methods, emphasizing running and physical conditioning, while Eamon listens seriously, understanding the importance of consistent effort. Ryu recalls traveling with Abel, explaining his strict training habits, while Eamon listens carefully, realizing the difference in their skill development. He admits lacking natural talent with the sword, while reflecting on advice, as Eamon listens and considers his own limitations seriously. Ryu explains talent means persistence, encouraging Eamon, asking if he will continue trying, while maintaining a calm and confident expression. Eamon responds firmly, declaring he will not give up, promising to keep trying repeatedly, showing determination to improve his strength. The next day arrives, showing a quiet dormitory, as Eamon rests on a bed, recovering while preparing mentally for continued training ahead. Eamon runs through the corridor, breathing heavily, while Nils and Ito watch, as Ryu walks ahead calmly. Ryu walks outside with a relaxed expression, stepping lightly, showing confidence and readiness as he prepares for daily physical training. Later, he arrives at a building and places a bag down, thanking someone, preparing resources, while considering if what he brought is enough. Nina asks about the books Ryu will buy, listening carefully, while Ryu responds calmly, confident that his plan will be sufficient. Ryu smiles and answers simply, stating alchemy, showing his next focus, as the scene ends with a quiet and determined mood. Ryu visits Southern Library near Adventurers Guild, learning about alchemy books recommended by Librarian, all written by Neil Anderson. Inside library, Ryu examines book display, realizing prices are high and he cannot afford all 3 important alchemy books. Ryu decides to check Adventurers Guild, wondering if money from Wyvern magic stones has been returned yet. Outside building, Ryu carries a bag of coins, hoping the amount will be enough for purchasing needed materials. Ryu meets Nina, confidently choosing alchemy, believing his funds are sufficient to begin studying and crafting immediately. Ryu walks through town, realizing money from selling Wyvern magic stones is enough, freeing him from worry about expenses. He looks up at sky, noticing unusual eclipse forming above city, surprising him as he observes the strange phenomenon carefully. The eclipse shifts unnaturally, confusing Ryu and others, as light changes shape, creating unsettling atmosphere across surrounding environment. Suddenly, Ryu senses distortion, surroundings darken, feeling transported elsewhere, as unfamiliar structures and space appear around him without warning. In silent dark city, Ryu feels isolated, realizing environment has changed completely, sensing he is alone within this strange dimension. Ryu remains still, sensing danger, deciding to locate hidden presence first, cautiously releasing small water droplets to probe surroundings. He activates sonar-like magic, sending waves across area, scanning environment carefully to detect movements or hidden entities within darkness. Ryu detects multiple entities nearby, roughly human-sized, feeling uneasy as their resonance differs from normal beings in this space. A shadowy figure appears ahead, its shape unclear, standing silently, giving off threatening presence within the distorted dark environment. Ryu reacts quickly, casting ice magic, forming wave of frozen energy, preparing to confront unknown enemies detected within this strange dimension. Ryu's ice attack strikes distant target, causing explosion, but unknown voice notices him. Surprised that a human appeared here, he realizes enemy broke his ice barrier instantly, understanding their strength exceeds expectations, and questioning how they approached silently. A voice speaks near him, commenting on his strange presence, while Ryu senses unfamiliar aura moving close within darkness. A horned female figure appears, stepping forward confidently, revealing herself as source of presence. Ryu detected moments earlier nearby. She examines surrounding ice, acknowledging its scale, then focuses on Ryu calmly, preparing to confront him within distorted dimension space. Ryu identifies the horned figure as an Akuma, realizing it differs from ordinary devils, and prepares himself cautiously for battle. Both exchange intent, tension rising, as the Akuma advances confidently, while Ryu readies his magic, testing if he can stop her. Ryu releases powerful magic attack, creating massive impact, then questions if his strike successfully stopped the approaching enemy. Suddenly, attack fails, and Ryu senses movement behind him, realizing opponent avoided damage and closed distance instantly without warning. Ryu turns in shock as attack strikes toward him, reacting late while attempting to defend himself against the Akuma's sudden counterattack. Ryu is struck by powerful attack, thrown across ground, struggling to regain balance as impact scatters debris through the dark space. He narrowly avoids another strike, realizing the enemy's speed is overwhelming, barely escaping being pierced by a deadly wind spear. The Akuma recognizes Ryu's robe, linking it to the Fairy King, while acknowledging his ability to resist her powerful hellfire. She decides to end fight directly, stepping forward confidently, declaring her intent to kill Ryu, without relying on further ranged attacks. The Akuma attacks with sword, striking downward forcefully, sending Ryu flying again as he fails to fully defend against impact. Ryu launches icicle attacks rapidly, forcing the Akuma to defend while maintaining distance and preparing for stronger follow-up strikes. The Akuma moves through smoke unharmed, watching Ryu calmly, showing no sign of damage from his previous attack. She mocks Ryu's effort, stating his attacks lack power, while he realizes his current attacks are ineffective against her. Ryu unleashes stronger icicle lance, causing massive explosion across cityscape, attempting to overwhelm the Akuma. With increased destructive force, the Akuma blocks using Earth Wall, while Ryu counters again, sending powerful water attack downward, continuing relentless assault on opponent. Ryu casts Boiling Rain, surrounding the Akuma with heated water, attempting to weaken her through continuous burning pressure from above. The Akuma endures attack, raising her arms, resisting damage as heated rain strikes her body without stopping her movement. The attack culminates in explosion, spreading across area, while Ryu watches closely, uncertain if his technique caused significant damage. Both stand facing each other again, the Akuma unharmed, stating battle was enjoyable but must end due to time limits. She explains lack of control over space, hinting separation is forced. While Ryu listens cautiously, realizing fight may end unexpectedly, Ryu introduces himself. While the Akuma reveals her name as Leonore Araka Albuquerque, Leonore reflects briefly, admitting she underestimated Ryu, recognizing his strength while revealing her identity openly without hesitation. Ryu states he may never see her again, while she responds acknowledging time limits, expressing interest in meeting him again someday. Ryu warns her not to underestimate humans, declaring future encounters are inevitable, hinting conflict will continue between them or allies. Leonore responds confidently, promising to become stronger, ending conversation as both prepare to separate from this temporary dimensional battlefield. Leonore Araka speaks calmly, saying they will meet again, either personally or through her companions, leaving a lingering sense of future conflict. Ryu responds firmly, warning Leonore not to die, declaring he will grow stronger and defeat her himself next time. Later he appears in a town, standing confused among buildings, realizing he has returned somewhere unfamiliar, questioning his situation quietly. Overwhelmed, Ryu sits on a bench, lowering his head while thinking deeply, struggling to process recent events and his current condition. Ryu remains seated, realizing he survived, somehow, quietly acknowledging his situation while looking forward, beginning to accept his new reality. Ryu recalls fighting a behemoth with magic nullification, remembering Leonore effortlessly attacking, realizing her strength far surpassed his previous expectations. Ryu reacts suddenly to lingering pain, holding his shoulder as the memory of Leonore's strike resurfaces. He examines the injury carefully, concluding it is only a bruise, though he recognizes the pain came directly from Leonore's powerful attack. Ryu notices his robe remains intact, understanding it protected him, quietly expressing gratitude while still feeling the impact of the damage. He reflects on Leonore's overwhelming magic and speed, realizing her abilities were extraordinary, confirming she used powerful magic beyond his current understanding. Ryu recalls Leonore's sudden movements, analyzing her speed as wind magic, concluding her attacks resembled teleportation but were extreme acceleration techniques. He noting the eclipse ended simultaneously, wondering if her departure and that event were connected somehow. Ryu remembers the battle's destruction, yet notices surrounding buildings remained intact, questioning what kind of magic could limit damage so precisely. Sitting alone, Ryu decides to gather information, planning to buy alchemy books and investigate Akumas, since even knowledgeable nobles lacked details. After speaking with someone, Ryu realizes nobles lack knowledge about Akumas, concluding information is scarce and difficult to obtain in this world. Ryu stands from the bench, deciding to buy an alchemy book and return home, beginning to act on his plan. Entering a dormitory, Ryu notices the empty room, wondering if others are still training, observing the quiet surroundings carefully. He finds Nils exhausted from training, who speaks confidently despite fatigue, showing determination and competitive spirit toward others nearby. Outside, several students lie defeated on the ground while others mock them, revealing a harsh environment where strength determines status. Another student speaks casually, mentioning dungeon monsters, as Ryu listens and realizes training here involves real combat and constant danger. A senior student warns others to stay alert, emphasizing readiness in any situation, speaking seriously while asserting the importance of constant awareness. Ryu quietly observes from a distance, turning his head while preparing to leave, carefully watching the situation without drawing attention. The senior confronts a group, stating the fight was not real, reminding them they should feel grateful despite their current defeat. Lone student admits the lesson, realizing he should never lower his guard, while frustration shows he understands his mistake too late. Suddenly, unseen force strikes, launching multiple students upward simultaneously, shocking the senior as the unexpected attack demonstrates. Ryu appears calmly as Nils react, realizing ice spears struck them, revealing his quiet intervention against the group without warning. Confronts them, Ryu reminding them about staying alert, exposing their carelessness while the others begin to understand they were easily defeated. He criticizes their lack of stamina, explaining their training was insufficient, and declares they will train under him to improve strength. Nils identifies him as Dan, while Ryu notices him, turning his attention toward the one responsible for leading the group. Ryu faces Dan directly, stating his name calmly, while questioning his actions, creating tension as Dan prepares to respond seriously. Dan charges angrily toward Ryu with his weapon raised while Ryu remains calm, standing still as others watch nervously nearby. He swings downward, with force attempting to strike Ryu directly, showing aggression and confidence as he tries to overpower him quickly. Ryu counters instantly, stepping in and striking Dan's body precisely, disrupting his attack, and knocking him down while maintaining control. Observers react in surprise, noting Ryu's strike was stronger than expected, as he explains he used the weapon handle carefully. Ryu relaxes after the fight, asking Ito to heal his shoulder, realizing lingering tension remains from earlier battles, despite victory. Ryu shows his bruised shoulder calmly, explaining no bones broke, while others react, realizing the impact was powerful, despite limited visible damage. Ito uses healing magic on Ryu's shoulder, warning the attack could have been dangerous if it had struck his heart directly. Others question Ryu about the fight, and he explains the attack nearly hit his heart, but he avoided it at the last moment. Ryu smiles lightly, avoiding further explanation, telling them he will explain later, keeping details hidden, while the group watches him carefully. Alone in thought, Ryu reflects seriously, realizing the overwhelming gap in strength between ordinary fighters and Leonore. Acknowledging the danger ahead, Ryu relaxes in a bath with Eamon and Nils, listening as they thank him and praise his abilities, while Leonore Araka speaks calmly, saying they will meet again, either personally or through her companions, leaving a lingering sense of future conflict. Ryu responds firmly, warning Leonore not to die, declaring he will grow stronger and defeat her himself next time. Later he appears Rune, a major town in the kingdom, where the Adventurers Guild operates and events surrounding Ryu continue unfolding. During a meal, Eamon invites Ryu to join the dungeon expedition, but Ryu refuses, stating he cannot participate the following day. Ryu reassures them calmly, explaining he has matters to handle, while his companions accept his decision without pressing him further. He recalls defeating Dan easily and registering as D rank, recognizing his growth and the gap between himself and others widening. Ryu leaves quietly, thinking exploring with stronger individuals would help, while others remain, realizing his abilities have significantly increased recently. Ryu observes guild advice about balanced parties while recalling training, understanding strength gaps between fighters and those struggling beside them. Reflects on his unusual strength he gained through years of effort, realizing others rarely match his current level despite appearances. He watches companions leave for missions, standing apart as they say goodbye, knowing his path and pace differ from theirs. Ryu smiles, deciding to train his magic control and endurance further. Planning routine runs through the city to improve steadily. During a duel, he recalls stopping Leonore mid-attack, recognizing he lacked power, yet surpassed her in magic creation speed. Ryu analyzes his strengths and weaknesses, focusing on improving magic creation speed, realizing acceleration differences determine outcomes during combat and movement. He recalls Leonore's rapid movement, concluding it uses wind magic, and considers how to replicate such speed using water magic. Ryu evaluates shooting water jets from his body, rejecting unsafe methods, and considers positioning attacks to support movement during combat situations. He imagines generating force from his back, combining water and ice control, believing controlled bursts could push his body forward effectively. Tests his limits, Ryu producing many water jets, freezing surfaces beneath him, and preparing to refine this technique for practical combat use. Ryu releases powerful water force against the wall but fails to move, realizing his method lacks proper propulsion and efficiency. He considers increasing water jets drastically, but concludes the idea is unrealistic, accepting limits in his current magic capacity. Meanwhile, Nils and others discuss combat efficiency, noting teamwork and additional fighters improve hunting speed, especially against weaker enemies like goblins. Owen explains goblins are slower than wolves, making them easier targets, reinforcing the importance of speed and coordination during battles. After the fight, the group rests, discussing salt and water properties, while Ryu listens quietly, reflecting on improving his magic techniques. Nils explains drinking water and salt improves the body, while another prays quietly, reflecting simple knowledge supporting endurance. The group rests after battle, discussing increasing difficulty, deciding to stop early, acknowledging limits faced against stronger enemies on deeper floors. They leave the dungeon satisfied, noting earnings exceed expectations, showing progress despite challenges, and preparing to return safely to the surface. At the guild, Nina greets them warmly, while Nils clings playfully, creating a brief light moment after the tense dungeon exploration. They report encountering a goblin archer, presenting a magic stone, and Nina confirms its origin, marking a significant discovery for them. Nina thanks the adventurers and decides to report the unusual goblin archer sighting, recognizing it as a rare and concerning occurrence. She approaches the guild master's office, requesting entry, while Hugh continues working, unaware of the urgent report she brings forward. Nina explains the encounter on the 5th floor, detailing the goblin archer, prompting Hugh to listen carefully and assess the situation. Hugh recalls such monsters appear deeper, questioning current parties, and suspects the abnormality signals a dangerous shift within the dungeon. Nina lists strong groups like Crimson Sword and White Brigade, suggesting capable teams available, helping Hugh consider responses to the emerging threat. Hugh confirms recent expedition returns, and orders both Crimson Sword and White Brigade to gather, preparing to address the unusual dungeon developments. Abel hears about the meeting and reacts uneasily, recalling past familiarity with Abel, feeling uncomfortable dealing with him directly again. Lynn comments on Abel's behavior, while the group approaches the guild office, preparing to attend the summoned discussion together. Inside, leaders of the White Brigade sit calmly, including Phelps and Sheena, awaiting others, maintaining composed attitudes before the meeting begins. Abel greets Phelps casually, while Ryu responds stiffly, showing tension between them as the gathering sets the stage for serious discussion. Hugh explains goblin archer sightings confirmed on the 5th floor, addressing Crimson Sword and White Brigade, emphasizing urgency and reliability. He presents evidence from recovered magic stone, praising Nils' judgment, noting 3 F-rank adventurers defeated goblins, including the archer successfully. Abel recognizes the names, confirming they are Ryu's companions, drawing attention to their involvement and linking them directly to the report. Phelps acknowledges their potential, stating survival experience will strengthen them, while Abel reflects briefly on speaking with them recently. With information confirmed, Hugh prepares to request both brigades investigate deeper, prompting leaders to await instructions regarding the dungeon situation. Abel listens as the group discusses investigating a possible tidal bore, understanding the situation may indicate a larger threat developing. Hugh explains abnormal monster appearances, signal tidal bore events, where creatures rise floors, increasing danger and disrupting normal dungeon balance. He offers rewards for confirmation, assigning responsibility, emphasizing urgency while ensuring proper reporting once investigation into the dungeon is completed. Abel agrees to confirm conditions, while Hugh instructs immediate retreat, if verified, prioritizing safety and accurate information over unnecessary risk. Hugh outlines coordination with knights, planning joint investigation near dungeon gates, while Abel reflects seriously on the responsibility placed upon them. Hugh orders dungeon exploration halted, assigns both brigades to investigate, and prepares all adventurers for standby after tomorrow's planned operation. Both Crimson Sword and White Brigade accept the request, agreeing to stop the threat, showing readiness to handle the dangerous situation. The next morning, adventurers gather near the guild, wondering about updates, as preparations begin for the planned investigation into the dungeon. Companions read the notice board discussing new information, while noticing Ryu is absent, suggesting he is elsewhere preparing or researching. An official notice confirms all dungeon exploration is prohibited, reinforcing urgency and seriousness, as the guild prepares for the unfolding crisis. After 9, Ryu stood alone, planning research at the library, seeking information about this world and dangerous Akuma before returning forest. Nils, Ito, and Eamon examined a notice board, reading warnings that entering the dungeon was prohibited, suggesting recent danger and strict control measures. Eto discussed updated information, realizing others added details after their report, indicating growing concern and shared knowledge about the situation. Abel arrived and greeted Phelps, noting fewer brigade members present, while someone warned that only high-ranked adventurers should participate. The group gathered outside, confirming readiness, while Abel learned all participants were experienced ranks, and the guild master had already arrived. Abel stopped the group, requesting time while Lin prepared a probe spell to scan the dungeon's first floor. Carefully, Lin detected over 100 reactions on the first floor, revealing a dangerous concentration of enemies far beyond expectations. Hugh urgently ordered evacuation to higher positions, realizing the Great Tidal Boar event had already begun within the dungeon area. Massive gates shook as monsters started emerging, confirming the tidal boar's arrival and signaling an immediate large-scale threat outside. Soldiers sealed the wall entrance while civilians evacuated upward, but a creature forced its way through, leaving defenders shocked. Large goblin-like monsters emerged from the gate, roaring loudly while advancing together, signaling the beginning of a dangerous, overwhelming assault. Archers fired rapidly from behind shields, launching arrows and magic attacks that struck multiple goblins, knocking several enemies back instantly. Nina explained the tidal boar would continuously release monsters, urging everyone to attack safely from the wall, without hesitation. Soldiers lined the wall firing, in unison, while others prepared for a prolonged fight, realizing this battle would test their endurance. Abel observed the battlefield, concluding the endless flow would continue until the goblin leader appeared. Noting this event involved only goblins, a goblin mage appeared and launched powerful magic attacks, forcing defenders to stay alert since protected mages posed greater threats. Alarm spread across the wall as enemies advanced quickly, with Abel and others rushing forward to intercept incoming goblins. Hugh ordered a counterattack despite low arrows, deciding to confront the tidal wave directly before defenses completely collapsed. Sheena raised an earth barrier, forming a protective wall that blocked incoming attacks and slowed the advancing monsters. She realized goblins would soon be replaced by stronger enemies, as a mage attack struck heavily, signaling escalation of danger. Abel stepped forward and struck the ground, preparing his attack as goblins leaped toward him, closing distance in a chaotic rush. He dashed through enemies, cutting one down while evading attacks, pushing forward with determination as the pressure around him increased. A defeated goblin collapsed heavily onto the ground, its body lifeless, showing the effectiveness of Abel's close-range assault. Abel and Phelps paused briefly, sensing a shift, their attention drawn towards something approaching beyond the immediate battlefield. Larger goblins appeared behind fallen ones, towering figures advancing slowly, signaling a stronger wave arriving and raising tension across battlefield. 3 large goblin generals advanced across battlefield, towering over fallen bodies, signaling a stronger wave that overwhelmed ordinary defenses quickly. Dark silhouettes revealed a deeper presence, as observers realized a goblin king existed somewhere inside, commanding the growing invasion force. The massive goblin king appeared in records as a rare threat, known for leading hordes and destroying entire cities. Abel and Phelps recognized the danger, deciding to eliminate the generals quickly before the Goblin King could emerge and dominate. Abel shouted orders, assigning targets among fighters, coordinating efforts so each strong warrior would handle one general efficiently. Abel charged forward and struck a goblin general directly, forcing it back while maintaining balance against the creature's overwhelming strength. The goblin counterattacked with powerful force, launching a heavy strike that pushed Abel away, showing the enemy's superior physical power. Abel quickly recovered and rushed again, closing distance with speed, while preparing another attack despite the dangerous pressure. He engaged in close combat, exchanging blows with the goblin general, both sides clashing with intense force during the ongoing battle. Abel and Phelps showed determined expressions, ready to continue fighting together, as they coordinated their efforts against the powerful enemy. A massive figure advanced toward Phelps, releasing a powerful strike that sent force across the battlefield, showing overwhelming strength beyond generals. Abel shouted a warning, urging Phelps to move quickly as he sensed the incoming danger from the massive enemy attack. Sudden wave attack swept across the area, striking multiple goblins instantly and disrupting the battlefield with unexpected destructive force. The massive enemy stood revealed, identified as the Goblin King whose attack nearly eliminated allies and enemies without distinction. Abel analyzed the attack, realizing it required no chanting, concluding the Goblin King's power demanded extreme caution and distance. Abel and Phelps charged together toward the Goblin King, closing distance quickly as the massive enemy prepared another overwhelming attack. Both sensed incoming danger, reacting instantly as a fast attack approached, forcing them to adjust movements under intense pressure. Abel blocked the strike with his arm, enduring impact while maintaining position, showing determination despite the enemy's immense strength. Phelps advanced from the side and struck the goblin, coordinating timing with Abel to create an opening against the powerful opponent. The goblin staggered slightly, while Abel focused intensely, preparing for the next exchange as the battle continued without slowing. Abel and Phelps attacked together, striking repeatedly from different angles, attempting to overwhelm the Goblin King with coordinated continuous assaults. The Goblin King resisted their attacks and countered fiercely, forcing both fighters to reposition while maintaining pressure against the powerful enemy. Abel lost balance briefly under pressure, reacting in alarm as he struggled to recover footing during the intense exchange. The Goblin King charged again, forcing Abel to warn Phelps, while retreating slightly to avoid the incoming heavy attack. The two separated across the battlefield, creating distance as Phelps called out to Abel while preparing to continue their coordinated fight. Abel activated a combat technique, focusing intensely as he prepared a decisive move against the Goblin King, despite the overwhelming danger. He charged forward and endured a heavy strike, closing distance while maintaining control, forcing the Goblin King into a vulnerable position. Abel restrained the enemy briefly and called for Rin to attack, creating an opening through coordinated timing and precise positioning. Rin unleashed a powerful magic attack, striking the Goblin King directly while Abel maintained pressure using his technique. The impact spread across the battlefield, carving through the ground toward the city, showing the immense destructive power of their combined attack. The Goblin King's body broke apart under the attack, collapsing before Abel, signaling the decisive end of the intense battle. The defeated king fell heavily, while Abel and Phelps stood at a distance, confirming the threat had finally been eliminated. After the battle, large amounts of magic stones were collected, showing the scale of defeated enemies and the aftermath of combat. Hugh reflected on the chaos, realizing managing the aftermath would be difficult. After the massive dungeon outbreak, Hugh prepared official documents, planning to request financial support from the kingdom to handle damages caused by the tidal bore. Hugh calculated expenses, covering weapons, compensation, and bonuses, while planning restoration costs since approval delays forced the guild to use savings. He reflected alone, overwhelmed by continuous responsibilities, wondering why everything depended on him while problems kept increasing without pause. Examining magic stones, Hugh noted differences, realizing wyvern stones were older and darker, while the Goblin King's stone showed recent existence. He concluded the tidal bore remained mysterious, attracting researchers, as the dungeon's unusual activity raised concerns across regions and organizations. Sitting quietly, Hugh accepted ongoing burdens, knowing the dungeon must remain closed, while he struggled to manage future consequences alone. Ryu arrives observing busy tavern where many adventurers eat and drink together, noticing lively atmosphere and unfamiliar faces surrounding him. He sits with companions as Nils greets him, explaining food is provided freely, while others eating and chatting around table. Large plates of food are served as Eamon watches, learning everything is covered by guild, making gathering generous and welcoming. Ryu asks about the event while Nils smiles, telling him to eat freely, showing mood and friendly relationship between them. They explain celebration follows great tidal bore, rare event observed, so group gathers to rest, eat, and share experiences together. Ryu quietly watches others talking, deciding to get food first, while Eamon sits nearby, and conversations about recent battles continue. As Ryu eats, Nils describes Abel's fight, explaining he nearly defeated Goblin King alone, showing impressive sword skill and strength. Nils excitedly continues, recalling Abel shouting during battle, describing intense moment where magic and swordplay combined to face powerful enemy. Ito joins discussion, explaining spell called Bullet Rain, powerful wind magic, while others consider how enemy was pierced, despite resistance. Ryu listens while someone approaches, stating they avoided damage using combat arts, suggesting skill also played role during dangerous battle. Abel explains combat arts calmly, showing confidence, as Ryu realizing such techniques differ from magic and require physical skill. Discussion shifts to absolute shadow technique, used to evade attacks, while Ryu feels embarrassed as others praise his performance during battle. Nils loudly recalls their teamwork, explaining constant arrow support helped secure victory, showing group effort played important role during fight. Ryu explains he was at library during battle, while others tease him, suggesting situation might have changed if he participated earlier. Lin and Rhea arrive with Abel, confirming they searched for him, while group continues discussing battle and Ryu's absence from event. Raya delivers Guildmaster message calmly, instructing Ryu to meet Margrave tomorrow, shifting focus from celebration to official responsibilities. Others discuss battle again, crediting Rintin for final blow, while Abel listens quietly and Ryu reacts to praise and recognition. Lin questions details of fight, explaining how attacks connected, while conversation shifts toward Ryu's abilities and unusual magic potential observed earlier. Ryu confirms he can create tall ice walls, smiling casually, revealing surprising skill level that impresses others listening to his explanation. Lin reacts with surprise, realizing difficulty of such magic, while Ryu explains it required training, showing his growth and effort behind ability. Ryu begins demonstrating magic, but Lin warns him it is dangerous, as others notice unusual activity starting to affect surroundings. Outside, commotion grows as people react to strange phenomenon, questioning situation, while someone urgently tells others to clean quickly. 5 days later, a research team gathers, while Nils appears worried. Nina apologizing as situation seems unresolved and lacking clear explanation. Nina explains overwhelming requests came recently, causing issues, while department stopped accepting them, showing pressure building within organization and affecting workflow. Group thanks Nina for efforts, while Ryu stands apart observing, suggesting situation remains tense. Despite attempts to resolve ongoing problems, Ryu asks about magic copper ore, learning purchasing and gathering are suspended, leaving him unable to obtain materials for alchemy practice. He explains difficulty finding ore anywhere, while others mention high prices and dungeon sources, showing supply shortage affecting town and guild operations. Ryu listens silently as Eamon realizing situation is serious, with guild and workshop unable to provide necessary resources anymore. He proposes taking a request, suggesting nearby abandoned mine as possible source, offering solution to problem while gaining interest from others. Ryu explains conditions and payment clearly, emphasizing safety return, while offering reward based on collected ore, motivating group to consider proposal. Group agrees to Ryu's conditions, calculating costs cheaper than town prices, deciding to accept request, and begin preparing for gathering mission. Ryu accepts easily, explaining request will not affect guild ranking as group walks through town discussing plan and next steps together. Reflects on situation, Ryu deciding not to give money freely, choosing instead to practice alchemy while others collect materials outside city. He heads to North Library, known for specialized books, seeking knowledge to improve alchemy skills and better prepare for future tasks. Inside, restricted areas are shown, including Forbidden Archive requiring special permission, hinting at deeper knowledge Ryu cannot access yet. Ryu explores deeper library sections, learning many advanced spellbooks and restricted materials exist, hidden from public due to their dangerous nature. Lin searches for ice wall spells, but finds none, realizing his ability differs from recorded magic, causing confusion and deeper curiosity. Explanation shows powerful spells, like Bullet Rain belong to highest grade, categorized carefully in central nations based on complexity and usage. Texts explain advanced magic requires great power and long chance, warning unprepared users risk losing control and being consumed by magic. Ryu understands such knowledge is restricted, yet notices his own magic is absent from books, suggesting his abilities differ from known systems. Ryu studies magic theory, learning most spells require chance, while realizing his chantless casting differs from standard magical systems taught widely. He considers creating original magic, imagining water version of powerful flame spell, showing his unique approach and experimental thinking toward magic. Ryu reflects others cannot understand chantless casting, while recalling powerful fire mage, comparing known magic limits with his own unexplained abilities. Simonin enters library and calls Rin, breaking silence, as she stands surrounded by books, shifting focus from research to unexpected meeting. Lin turns calmly toward visitor, recognizing presence, while figure approaches holding weapon, suggesting possible tension or serious conversation about to begin. Sarah appears confidently inside library, holding sword, while Rin recognizes her presence, noting she is currently only party member staying in city. She explains returned recently and came searching for unusual information, mentioning request from capital, while Rin listens but cannot provide answers. Sarah apologizes and leaves for other duties, while Lin decides to head home, ending meeting without progress in her ongoing investigation. After careful experiments, Ryu finally created an antidote potion, feeling satisfied while practicing alchemy alone inside the quiet guild dormitory room. He smiled with confidence, believing his effort paid off, unaware that outside events were unfolding that would soon interrupt his peaceful moment. Hearing a sudden shout, asking to stop, Ryu turned around in confusion, sensing trouble nearby, and realizing something unusual was happening outside. A stern man confronted others, ordering them to leave someone alone, showing authority and anger as tension grew between opposing individuals. Several knights surrounded a frightened girl, grabbing her firmly while she resisted, clearly distressed as they tried forcing her compliance. Ryu quietly looked through the window, observing outside carefully, noticing movement below while remaining hidden, thinking silently about the situation developing. He recognized knights harassing a young woman, realizing she was similar to Eamon, identifying Dan nearby, and understanding the troubling situation. Ryu considered intervening as the knights pressured her, offering money and forcing attention. While she clearly refused and resisted their advances, a man warned the knights to stop, stating the woman's refusal. While Ryu analyzed their behavior, judging them as foolish and unreasonable, one knight became angry and confronted them aggressively, questioning the warning, while the situation escalated further, increasing tension among everyone present. A figure suddenly moved, stepping forward as the knights held the girl, his presence interrupting them while tension filled the space immediately. One knight mocked confidently, raising his weapon, threatening punishment, while claiming it was only a lesson, underestimating Ryu's quiet strength. The knight hesitated briefly, sensing something unusual from Ryu, his expression tightening as uncertainty replaced his earlier confidence and arrogance. In an instant, the knight was violently thrown, losing balance completely, crashing into the ground as his body flipped uncontrollably from impact. Shock spread among the knights as one realized danger, shouting to stay back, his expression frozen while understanding Ryu's overwhelming power. Another knight suddenly collapsed violently, hitting the ground hard as others watched, shocked, unable to understand what invisible force struck him. The remaining knights panicked, shouting in confusion and anger, blaming Ryu while he calmly denied involvement, standing still without moving. A third knight was abruptly slammed down, his body flipping uncontrollably, as the others stepped back, realizing something unseen was attacking them. Fear spread as the group hesitated, spacing out cautiously, their formation breaking while they tried to locate the source of danger. Ryu quietly watched from the window as someone declared the conflict finished, leaving the shaken knights standing in uneasy silence outside. Phelps stepped forward confidently, standing before the group, as the others reacted with confusion, questioning his sudden appearance. He criticized their behavior firmly, calling them disgraceful, while one knight angrily rejected his words and shouted back. The knight warned about consequences, mentioning the kingdom's rules, while Phelps remained calm, emphasizing proper conduct expected from knights. He introduced himself as Phelps A. Heinlein, stating his noble status and authority, revealing his identity as a high-ranking and influential figure. The surrounding knights froze in shock, recognizing the Heinlein name, realizing the seriousness of the situation and the consequences they might face. Phelps confirmed his noble identity, mentioning his father, causing the knights to panic as they realized they had offended someone powerful. The knights quickly obeyed, retreating in fear while apologizing, as Phelps ordered them to leave and stop disgracing the kingdom's honor. The situation calmed. The rescued girl was safe, and Phelps acknowledged her bravery, instructing others to return her safely to companions. Approached Ryu, Phelps recognizing him, while Ryu responded casually from the window, both acknowledging each other after the incident ended. Phelps introduced himself formally and praised Ryu's actions, showing interest in his abilities, while Ryu modestly credited others for the outcome. Phelps thanked Ryu formally for his help, while Ryu modestly responded, explaining his connection with Dan and refusing excessive praise. Phelps mentioned Abel's words describing Ryu as interesting, while Ryu reacted awkwardly, confused by the attention and recalling past events. Expressed gratitude sincerely, Phelps explaining Abel's survival mattered greatly, acknowledging Ryu's role in saving him and helping the city. The conversation ended as Phelps prepared to leave, apologizing briefly, while another called him, reminding him duties awaited elsewhere soon. Ryu watched him depart, then relaxed, smiling slightly, despite exhaustion, quietly admitting his tiredness after everything that had just happened. Stood quietly by the window, Ryu reflecting on recent events, thinking about Phelps, the rescued woman, and the many hidden strengths within the city. Later that night, the scene shifted to a quiet dining area, where someone approached Ryu, noticing him eating alone in silence. Abel joined Ryu at the table, explaining others were away on a request, choosing to sit together, despite Ryu offering nothing. They spoke casually, Abel joking about treating him, while Ryu responded calmly, keeping conversation light but maintaining a respectful distance. Their discussion continued quietly, with Abel questioning their group's absence, while Ryu reflected on their situation, both maintaining a calm atmosphere together. Abel teased Ryu lightly during dinner, suggesting reasons for his solitude, while Ryu listened quietly, reacting calmly without showing strong emotion. Abel suddenly accused Ryu loudly, drawing attention, while Ryu remained composed. As their conversation became more chaotic and slightly embarrassing, Ryu clarified calmly, denying assumptions, while Abel reacted loudly again, misunderstanding explanations about rumors. The argument escalated briefly, with Abel shouting defensively, while Ryu stayed calm, pointing out inconsistencies, causing Abel to grow increasingly flustered. Ryu accused Abel, clinging to Lin, ending the exchange with a calm remark, but Abel quickly tried to retract his statements, revealed that she belonged to Warren. Ryu listened quietly as Abel continued joking, making exaggerated assumptions, while Ryu tried to respond but hesitated, unsure how to explain himself. Abel loudly continued teasing, creating a scene, while Ryu grew slightly annoyed, telling him to stop as attention around them increased. Ryu explained calmly that he lacked romantic interest, reflecting on his past, stating it was not important to him anymore. The conversation shifted, with Ryu focusing on simple matters, suggesting Abel eat more, redirecting discussion away from awkward personal topics. Abel returned to teasing again, questioning Ryu jokingly, while Ryu denied it simply, ending the conversation without engaging further. Ryu described his work jokingly as stealing from villains to help others, while Abel listened quietly, accepting the explanation without arguing further. Abel explained more seriously, mentioning a researcher friend and suspicious knights, stating they must act carefully while recognizing not all knights are bad. Ryu considered the plan as Abel outlined conditions, deciding they would only act if trouble appeared, finding the approach unexpectedly reasonable. Clive Staples and Christopher Blatt discuss urgent matters, urging dungeon exploration while requesting guild resources, creating tension about breaking restrictions today. Hugh McGrath reacts angrily, rejecting the demand, while Arthur Verasis calmly explains the request, includes adventurers serving as necessary guards. The group gathers formally, reviewing authority documents as Clive explains, royal orders appointing leadership and granting full investigative power to proceed. Hugh resists sharing resources, but reluctantly considers compromise, suggesting limited cooperation while maintaining control over guild supplies and responsibilities. Tension rises again as definitions are challenged, but Arthur intervenes, reminding everyone they are leaders who must cooperate for kingdom stability. Arthur proposes alternative food supply arrangements, easing tension, while Hugh acknowledges fault and agrees to stop demanding provisions from the guild. Hugh accepts advisor guidance regarding food but firmly refuses to abandon dungeon control, warning danger will spread if it remains sealed. Clive and Hugh argue about unlocking the dungeon, as uncertainty remains, while Clive insists investigation is necessary despite unknown risks inside. Hugh reluctantly agrees, setting conditions that responsibility falls on others, requiring official approval, while warning that entering the dungeon carries serious danger. Arthur observes quietly, while Hugh asserts control, declaring he will refuse cooperation and prevent dungeon unlocking if his conditions are rejected. The group finalizes terms, allowing adventurers to act as guards, while reminding them responsibility remains, and they must continue earning their living. Hugh warns about the dungeon's unknown dangers, explaining even experienced adventurers may face unfamiliar threats beyond their expectations. Later, Abel and Ryo walks through the city streets at night, seeking information while the atmosphere shifts away from formal discussions. They learn about the Forbidden Archive, requiring high-rank access, realizing restrictions exist, despite his status, and considers entering for further knowledge. As Abel moves through the crowded street, others notice him, questioning his growing reputation while he continues forward with his own quiet purpose. Ryu and Abel observe the crowd, noting many adventurers returning, suggesting a large party, while uncertainty remains about their origin. Ryu signals Abel to stay quiet, focusing carefully on the surroundings, sensing something unusual among the gathered adventurers nearby. A suspicious group approaches confidently, implying missing members from the return party, creating tension as their presence draws attention. Ryu analyzes the situation, noting Rune's dungeon attracts outsiders, while Abel dismisses popularity, though suspicion about the group continues growing. Abel questions Ryu's suspicion, glancing back at the group, while Ryu maintains focus, carefully observing their behavior without revealing concern. Ryu and Abel follow the suspicious group, confirming they are outsiders, while discussing their intentions and noticing movement through the narrow streets. The group suddenly disappears into an alley, creating tension as the quiet street suggests something unexpected has just occurred nearby. Ryu and Abel discover the group defeated on the ground, realizing someone else intervened, leaving the attackers unconscious without clear explanation. Ryu advises restraint, warning Abel not to attack further, while Abel dismisses concern, assuming the group targeted him out of jealousy. Abel attempts to take identification from the fallen, but Ryu stops him, insisting it is wrong to exploit unconscious individuals. Ryu discovers an alchemy tool and examines a guild card, identifying the attacker as Gaminum, linking him to the Yahello alliance. They decide to hand the defeated men to guards, while Abel notes unusual activity connected to Yahello, suggesting a larger situation developing. Abel mentions a celebration and outside adventurers, while Ryu questions the information source, sensing hidden connections behind recent events. Phelps observes from a distance, watching calmly as Ryu and Abel leave, implying he was responsible for defeating the suspicious group earlier. He walks away quietly through the street, avoiding attention, as his involvement remains hidden while events begin unfolding across the city. A group plots revenge at night, targeting Phelps, believing a surprise attack will succeed, unaware of his true strength. Phelps walks calmly through the street as attackers surround him, preparing their weapons, confident they can strike from multiple directions. The attackers launch simultaneously, aiming to kill Phelps, but he remains still, sensing their movements without showing any visible reaction. Suddenly, their bodies freeze and collapse mid-attack, overwhelmed by an unseen force, as Phelps continues moving without acknowledging their presence. One attacker realizes too late, terrified, as Phelps stands beside him, questioning his intent, proving the attack was completely meaningless. Sheena judges the attackers as worthless, deciding punishment, as dark energy gathers around her, preparing to eliminate them without hesitation. Flames erupt violently, engulfing the attackers completely, leaving no resistance, as Sheena executes them swiftly with overwhelming magical power. From above, the street shows destruction aftermath, while Phelps calmly acknowledges Sheena, revealing coordinated action between them during the encounter. The defeated bodies remain scattered, while Sheena observes their strength, questioning what truly happened, unable to fully understand the sudden outcome. A survivor realizes defeat was inevitable, while one man observes quietly, questioning the mysterious mage responsible for overwhelming the attackers effortlessly. He notices a distant fire burning across rooftops, sensing danger nearby, while confusion grows about the sudden disturbance within the quiet city. Survivors struggle to recover as the situation worsens, and Ryu decides they must leave quickly before more trouble spreads uncontrollably. One man urges haste, moving forward, despite injuries, pushing others to escape the area as the aftermath of battle leaves chaos behind. He encounters Sheena, recognizing her instantly, as tension shifts and the situation becomes more uncertain with her arrival. Sheena responds calmly, leaving without explanation, while the man watches silently, unable to understand her intentions or presence there. As the street empties, fear spreads, and distant voices question the sudden increase of monsters, signaling a larger crisis unfolding across the city. 6 days after the great tidal bore, Ryu walks steadily across empty ground, his bandaged legs moving carefully under a cloudy sky. Ryu thinks about closed facilities and skipped meals, quietly accepting the situation while continuing forward, showing calm judgment despite uncertainty around him. Ryu arrives at the Golden Wave Pavilion, observing the quiet building, recalling a past gathering, and confirming the place remains deserted. Inside, a girl reports the party left earlier, explaining their absence, while Ryu listens. The girl urges immediate departure, suggesting the guild hurry to catch them. As the guild noticed Ryu approached, the girl suddenly reacts, swinging her weapon toward Ryu, who turns in surprise, sensing danger as tension rises inside the quiet room. She rushes forward, calling someone else, realizing her mistake, while the staff member reacts loudly, and Ryu denies the misunderstanding calmly. Ryu explains his urgency, requesting directions to the Adventurers Guild, while the girl questions him, confirming his identity with visible confusion. She gives directions clearly, explaining the route toward the guild, while Ryu listens carefully, acknowledging the unfamiliar city and situation. As they walk outside, she explains her mission involving delivering a sword, while Ryu understands her urgency and the reason behind her haste. Ryu and the girl arrive at a large building, as Ryu noticing Abel and his party, recognizing timing and questioning events. The girl presents a sealed letter, explaining its origin, while Ryu listens, confused but attentive. Understanding it is important information. Abel decides to read the letter immediately, but Ryu suggests moving inside, guiding him toward a quieter place for discussion. Inside, the group gathers, introducing names, as the girl revealed her name as Natalie, while others observe Ryu and assess the unfolding situation. They sit together around a table, preparing to discuss further, as identities are clarified as Natalie. Ryu observes Natalie carefully, noting the water magic, as Lin explains noble lineage, surprising the girl with new understanding. Natalie admits her skill is low, despite training, while Ryu listens quietly, understanding her effort and current limitations clearly. Abel focuses on the sealed letter placed before him, growing serious as he prepares to read its contents carefully. Ryu questions the dungeon situation, learning the research team needs help, realizing the situation is more complex than expected. The documents explain authorities will unseal the dungeon, forcing cooperation as the guild master prepares to accept the unavoidable decision. Abel explains the letter connects them to the research team, describing their mission and need for experienced adventurers familiar with dungeons. Ryu reacts awkwardly to concern, denying discomfort, while Abel questions him, revealing tension about the dungeon situation after recent events. Abel describes the dungeon's history, explaining past disappearances, sealed periods, and a powerful party that vanished, leaving unresolved danger behind. Listens carefully, Ryu realizing the situation is serious, expressing concern, while internally questioning whether he fully understands the risks involved. Ryu concludes the dungeon is unpredictable, deciding to avoid it for now, focusing instead on basic needs while uncertainty remains unresolved. Ryu reveals the research team already ate, surprising Abel, while the empty cafeteria suggests unusual behavior and raises suspicion among them. Natalie realizes the team acted deliberately, worrying their actions will spread rumors, making it harder for them to recruit adventurers. Rehaya questions whether their planned activities should be cancelled. Abel explains the guild will organize parties and inform everyone, while Abel states high-ranking parties are already in the city, expecting contact soon, while mentioning another person has recently returned as well. The group begins to disperse, concluding their discussion as Ryu prepares to leave, understanding the situation continues developing beyond this moment. Ryu finishes speaking with Abel, smiling lightly, while Abel suggests he should have eaten earlier, highlighting Ryu's missed opportunity. Later, Ryu returns, seeing Natalie apologize sincerely, while he reassures her calmly, showing understanding and dismissing any concern about inconvenience. Natalie explains her actions to Lin, admitting she brought Ryu along selfishly, while Ryu listens quietly, not holding any resentment. Lin asks Natalie about water magic abilities, specifically questioning a technique, while Natalie responds honestly, showing limits in her knowledge. Ryu notices Natalie still thinking deeply, while Lin reacts with surprise, realizing Natalie's concern remains unresolved despite their discussion together. Natalie insists ice magic exists, arguing strongly, while others doubt her claim, creating tension as Ryu listens quietly to both sides. Abel raises his hand, explaining their leader witnessed such magic, though uncertainty remains. While Natalie questions him, seeking confirmation and clarity, describes the situation vaguely, Abel mentioning a past journey, while expressing interest, as the group listens and considers the unusual claim. Abel asking Natalie to keep something secret, shifting the mood as his tone becomes serious and focused on privacy. Natalie agrees immediately, promising silence, while Abel clarifies boundaries calmly, ensuring trust without excessive measures. And the conversation settles briefly. The group recalls Ryu, creating an ice wall midair, demonstrating advanced magic, confirming his unusual ability. Abel warns others about Ryu's overwhelming strength, explaining he is not an enemy, but dangerous if opposed. Natalie questions Ryu's abilities, while Abel confirms their reliability, expressing seriousness, as others accept the truth about Ryu's exceptional power. Abel advises Natalie to seek Ryu's help when needed, explaining where he usually stays, encouraging trust and honesty in future interactions. He reassures Natalie about Ryu's character, describing him as kind, while emphasizing honesty, ensuring she understands how to approach him properly. Ryu walks alone through the city, leaving the group behind, focusing on his own needs, quietly thinking about finding food soon. Ryu stands before a large academy building, reads a notice, waits silently, and observes the quiet surroundings carefully before entering. A staff member arrives quickly, apologizes for delay, and hands Ryu an admission pass, confirming his acceptance into the academy officially. Ryu looks forward calmly, holding the pass, showing quiet determination as he prepares himself mentally for the new environment ahead. Inside the academy, Ryu walks through a vast library, surrounded by towering shelves, beginning his exploration and study of knowledge seriously. Ryu notices something unusual in the distant hall, becomes alert, and reacts with surprise as the atmosphere suddenly feels different. Ryu walks deeper into the grand library, observing countless books and structures, sensing something unusual while carefully scanning the silent surroundings. An elf woman appears across the room, facing Ryu, both standing cautiously as they assess each other inside the quiet library. Ryu introduces himself nervously, while the elf Sarah responds kindly, establishing their first meeting and confirming both are adventurers in conversation. Sarah explains the librarians are absent, offers help finding books, and mentions another man responsible for managing the library tasks. Sarah asks about a monocle-wearing man, explaining his role organizing books, suggesting he might know locations of materials Ryu seeks. Sarah turns away slightly while Ryu hesitates, thinking carefully about his goal, deciding not to ask about Akumas yet. Ryu explains his interest in alchemy and controlling golems, showing limited experience while revealing his intentions to improve his abilities. Ryu stands beside Sarah near tall windows, both facing each other as she listens while considering how to respond to him. Sarah reacts with surprise, explaining there are no books focused entirely on golems, but acknowledges his ambitious and unusual research interest. Sarah invites Ryu to follow her, suggesting related books, while he reacts with slight surprise, and prepares to continue searching. Ryu follows Sarah into another section, filled with scattered books, observing the area carefully, while she searches for useful materials. He finds beginner encyclopedias about monsters and plants, recalling his past interest in reading and feeling motivated to continue studying. Ryu walks behind Sarah through aisles, feeling satisfied being surrounded by knowledge, while she continues guiding him deeper into the library. Elsewhere, a group of people argue loudly, expressing anger about a dangerous dungeon and refusing involvement despite external pressure. The crowd continues protesting strongly, declaring independence and frustration, while some consider the money offered, showing divided opinions among them. Adventurers gather in a hall standing around quietly after earlier arguments, while Hugh closes his eyes, showing he understands their concerns. Hugh speaks calmly, explaining they only support the research team through guild requests, emphasizing he understands the adventurers' worries clearly. He reminds everyone that accepting requests is their own choice, warning them to consider risks carefully since their lives depend on decisions. Hugh firmly declares he will not tolerate insults toward others, insisting all adventurers deserve respect regardless of their chosen requests. The crowd listens silently as one adventurer raises his hand, preparing to speak, while Hugh allows him to present his thoughts. Abel steps forward confidently, declaring his group will enter the dungeon, explaining it as a royal request, while Hugh observes calmly. Hugh announces updates will be posted, dismisses the crowd, and informs them the dungeon will reopen tomorrow morning for adventurers. Hugh walks with Nina, explaining another meeting will be held, inviting E-rank adventurers to receive further explanation about the situation. Hugh clarifies lower ranks will not join immediately, stating they must wait 1 month, emphasizing controlled and careful dungeon access. Nina later informs Ryu about the meeting, asking him to notify others, while he listens quietly and acknowledges her request. Nina asks Ryu about the meeting, while he responds simply, showing confusion as he realizes he missed important information earlier. Ryu apologizes for missing the meeting, while Nina explains it was intended for higher-ranked adventurers, clarifying the situation calmly. Nina reassures Ryu he can attend another meeting for lower ranks, suggesting he join later while he agrees, and thanks her. Ryu walks outside and notices his companions returning, recognizing them from a distance as they approach him together. Ryu greets Nils, Ito and Eamon with a smile, showing relief as they reunite after being apart. The group shows collected ores, explaining their discovery, highlighting the valuable item found and their success during the recent exploration. Inside their room, they discuss rewards, suggesting sharing profits with Ryu, since they obtained extra materials during their successful outing. Ryu listens calmly, acknowledging their effort, agreeing they performed well, and confirming that an additional reward is reasonable for everyone involved. They gather around a table, calculating earnings together, deciding each member's share carefully based on their contributions and total profits earned. The group reacts with surprise at the amount, realizing each receives significant gold, while Ryu checks if the distribution is acceptable. The group agrees on the reward distribution, expressing satisfaction, while Ryu stands calmly, confirming the deal and observing their reactions closely. Ryu informs them he will visit the guild to transfer money, mentioning the dungeon will reopen soon and additional important information. Ryu explains the research team's involvement, stating only selected adventurers will enter, causing surprise among his companions as they listen carefully. Nils reacts with concern, realizing only higher-ranked adventurers qualify, expressing disappointment, but accepting the situation as unavoidable. Ryu clarifies another meeting will occur for lower ranks, explaining he will attend. While his companions question his earlier absence, Ryu smiles calmly, explaining he spent time researching in the library, mentioning meeting an elf woman while answering his companions' questions. Outside near the guild walls, the group reflects quietly, recognizing the difference between ranks, understanding the gap in responsibility and expectations. Early morning, Abel's party gathers at the dungeon entrance as Rin prepares a probing spell under instructions. While others observe silently, the gate opens slowly after confirmation, revealing a dark passage as the team prepares to descend deeper into the dungeon. The group advances together inside, glowing slightly, while Rin's probe consumes magic, guiding them carefully through the unknown terrain ahead. They move further inward, maintaining formation, aware of limits, as Rin continues scanning while preserving enough magic for emergencies. Abel gives clear orders to explore the first floor thoroughly, setting limits on depth, while the group acknowledges and prepares carefully. The academy building stands quietly in the morning as preparations continue, signaling another important day related to the dungeon situation nearby. Adventurers gather in a hall, standing in groups, watching others move, while Ryu observes quietly from within the assembled crowd. Hugh begins explaining the situation, stating lower-ranked adventurers cannot escort the research team, while preparing to share further important details. Hugh reassures them there are other jobs available, explaining alternative roles and support tasks, while emphasizing information updates will continue regularly. Ryu listens calmly among the crowd, understanding the situation, realizing why certain groups are absent, and quietly accepting the current circumstances. Ryu raises his hand and asks Hugh about the monster's magic stones, focusing on their colors after the great tidal event. Hugh reacts seriously, acknowledging the importance of the question, noting no one has asked about the stones, despite their recent arrival. Addresses the crowd, Hugh explaining this knowledge is advanced, then decides to teach it since it is useful for adventurers. Hugh explains magic stones reflect attributes and experience, with darker colors indicating stronger power, while different elements correspond to specific colors. Concludes his explanation, Hugh returning to Ryu's question, preparing to connect this knowledge directly to the current unusual situation. Hugh asks about the monster's stone colors, explaining dark stones indicate long presence, while lighter ones suggest recent appearance, complicating the situation. He explains the monsters had light-colored stones, meaning they did not originate from deeper dungeon levels, but appeared only recently. Hugh concludes that even powerful monsters, like the king and generals, were not long-term residents, indicating something unusual about their sudden presence. The crowd reflects on this, realizing the dungeon did not spawn them naturally, suggesting the monsters came from an unknown external source. Hugh warns that such power appearing quickly is dangerous, stating they must investigate where this massive and sudden strength originated from. Ryu stands among the crowd, thinking deeply about the explanation, recalling the discussion about monsters, and quietly forming his own hypothesis. He remembers knowledge about energy and matter, connecting it to the situation, questioning how something could be created from energy alone. Ryu imagines energy forming matter, considering the dungeon's ability, and wonders what source could supply such a massive amount continuously. He continues thinking, linking the tidal bore to sudden monster creation, but struggles to understand where all that energy originates. Overwhelmed, Ryu stops thinking further, forcing himself to move on as the meeting ends, and the adventurers are dismissed. Hugh sits alone in his office, reflecting quietly on the situation, hoping the coming month passes without further dangerous incidents. Considers Abel's role, Hugh recognizing his capability, while also noting Ryu's insight and curiosity from asking important questions during the meeting. Ryu walks with others, unaware his question influenced Hugh's thoughts. As they leave the hall after the discussion ends, Hugh analyzes possibilities, noting the light-colored stones suggest recent monsters, making usual dungeon explanations insufficient and raising serious unanswered concerns. Suddenly he reacts with frustration, refusing to think further, made Nina surprised. Hugh deciding to report to Markgrave. Hugh recalls Neville Black, a capable commander, deciding to consult him for support in case unexpected events occur during investigations. He considers bringing alcohol as a gift, thinking carefully about maintaining good relations, despite knowing such gestures are not strictly necessary. Hugh reflects on how small actions influence outcomes, believing strong relationships can shape events, especially during uncertain situations involving the dungeon. Meanwhile, Ryu walks alone, deep in thought, continuing to analyze the situation, driven by curiosity about the strange recent events. Ryu connects the tidal bore with a prior solar eclipse, suspecting a hidden relationship between both events and the sudden monster appearance. A mysterious figure reflects on the tidal bore, recalling the battle against an Akuma, suspecting the events are connected beyond coincidence. The figure considers possibilities without certainty, wondering whether the eclipse or tidal bore caused the incident, increasing curiosity about the true cause. Ryu sits at a table with others, thinking quietly about his theories, as Eamon observed him while eating. His companions notice his silence and question him casually, while Ryu remains thoughtful, distracted by his ideas and avoids explaining his concerns. Ryu observes the town quietly while sitting with companions, noticing their meal and surroundings. Nils reveals a pocket watch from his belongings, drawing attention as Ryu and others focus on the small object with curiosity. He explains its importance confidently, showing the watch as a necessary tool for adventurers to manage time and maintain responsibility. Ryu explains how timekeeping affects reputation, describing clocks in towns, and how watches help adventurers avoid damaging their professional standing. He reflects on crafting a watch using magic and alchemy, realizing its difficulty and cost, while understanding differences between worlds regarding timekeeping systems. Ryu considers the value of watches, understanding their rarity and cost, while comparing advanced craftsmanship and magical limitations. Ryu reacts calmly, recognizing the pocket watch's usefulness, while Nils responds modestly, maintaining his confidence and continuing the conversation during their shared meal. Nina arrives with energy, interrupting the group, as attention shifts toward her sudden entrance and the change in atmosphere around the table. Nina explaining that Nils and Itio contributed during battle, earning recognition and advancing to a higher adventurer rank. Nils reacts with surprise, struggling to process the news while Ito expresses gratitude, confirming their success and marking an important turning point. The group gathers around the table as Nina congratulates Nils and Ito, confirming their achievement. Nina explains further steps, instructing them to update guild cards and consider forming a party, introducing new responsibilities after their promotion. Ito clarifies that reaching E rank allows party registration, marking it as a milestone, and encouraging them to formalize their teamwork officially. Amon deciding to work harder and reach E rank soon, planning to support Nils and Ito while taking on higher-level requests. The scene shifts to the guild building, where Ryu approaches alone, preparing to begin his efforts toward advancement and future responsibilities. Ryu enters a large library, searching quietly for information while carefully examining the vast collection of stored knowledge. He struggles to find records about solar eclipses and tidal bores, realizing the absence of librarians makes his research difficult and uncertain. Sarah appears and approaches Ryu, recognizing him, as he explains the situation and apologizes for disturbing the quiet environment inside. She understands his intent quickly, offering help and identifying his focus on records connecting solar eclipses with great tidal bore events. Ryu reflects on her insight, forming a theory about recent events, noting similarities between past eclipses and the growing tidal disturbances. Ryu studies records describing eclipses and tidal bores, noting patterns and differences, questioning how rare total eclipses might influence these events. He considers the frequency of eclipses, realizing coincidence seems unlikely, and begins forming a deeper connection between celestial events and tidal changes. Sarah reveals she researched the topic before, confirming familiarity, while Ryu reacts with surprise and growing admiration for her knowledge. Ryu avoids explaining his reasoning fully, giving a vague response, while Sarah questions his thoughts and seeks a clearer explanations. Smiles lightly, Ryu choosing not to reveal everything, keeping his ideas private while maintaining a calm and thoughtful expression. Ryu shifts the topic, asking Sarah about magic stones, while she notices his intent, observing him closely as he avoids explaining earlier thoughts. Sarah accepts the change, responding seriously, while moving closer, maintaining focus, and analyzing Ryu's question about differences in magic stone coloration. Sarah explains that older monsters produce darker stones, linking records of past tidal bores, while Ryu realizes her deduction matches hidden details. She invites Ryu to follow her, revealing that important records are hidden, leading him through the library toward a more secret location. The scene shifts underground, showing adventurers exploring deeper dungeon floors, where stronger monsters appear, hinting at the source of rare magic stones. Abel recalls information about light-colored magic stones, thinking carefully while hoping their search deeper in the dungeon will reveal something important. He repeats the key detail to confirm understanding while Arthur acknowledges it, ensuring both remain focused on the unusual characteristics observed earlier. They report finding nothing on higher floors, noting goblin presence and expected patterns, suggesting stronger activity should exist deeper within the dungeon levels. Observations reveal concentrated magic traces increasing below, supporting the theory of a deeper source, leading them to continue descending toward lower dangerous areas. Using alchemy tools, they detect lingering magical residue, confirming recent activity, while the group prepares to investigate further and uncover hidden causes. Arthur explains the tool's origin, describing collaboration between alchemists, while emphasizing its analytical purpose and connection. Abel responds cautiously, stating interest comes from a friend, while the elder questions him, observing his reaction and probing deeper into his intentions. Arthur reacts with mild surprise, while Abel realizes his statement revealed more than intended about his connections. The group advances through a field of strange objects, surrounding structures indicating concentrated magic as they move carefully toward the center. They discuss external involvement, noting the kingdom's interest and unusual speed of response, suggesting the situation is more serious than expected. Rhea explains that researchers expect something alive below, while Abel confirms information from a former colleague connected to the investigation team. She describes outsiders assisting the research, including priests with authority, while Abel listens, understanding the scale and seriousness of the ongoing operation. They discuss adventurers from the capital, noting unfamiliar faces, while questioning resource use and recognizing that the situation extends beyond local concerns. Abel mentions another group advancing quickly toward deeper floors, while the elder comments on the risks, acknowledging the danger involved in their actions. A new report suggests monsters originate from deeper levels, prompting concern as the group realizes the threat may continue rising without stopping soon. A hidden group gathers in darkness, led by a man with authority, declaring Clive will act as their guide in the dangerous investigation. They discuss reaching the 10th floor, dismissing concerns, while focusing on goblin territory and preparing to proceed deeper without hesitation or delay. Clive confirms monsters originate from lower levels, urging quick movement, showing urgency as the group continues advancing into increasingly dangerous areas. He declares his ambition to solve the title bore mystery, revealing his high academic authority and determination to achieve results by any means. A formal assembly is shown, explaining the academic president's power, highlighting his control over national resources and influence across multiple governing fields. Clive stands before cloaked followers, planning to claim recognition by controlling research on the great title bore and securing academic authority. He urges movement toward the remote site, revealing determination, as the group prepares to advance and execute their objective without hesitation. Clive stands between two hooded figures under a dark sky, encouraged to continue advancing deeper, despite unclear dangers ahead. The central man suddenly attacks, surprising the robed figures, who react too late as force erupts violently around them. After the clash, the man evaluates their condition, noting scholars lack endurance, while one opponent struggles, showing clear exhaustion. Flames spread across the area as the man orders camp preparation on the 10th floor, deciding progress must pause temporarily. The following day, reports confirm the Central University research team successfully entered the 10th floor, marking steady advancement into deeper territory. Arthur reviews reports calmly assigning tasks to inspect the 10th floor, while another member prepares to search for residual mana. The group acknowledges that deeper dungeon exploration requires specific roles, especially scouts responsible for detecting traps beyond the dangerous 10th floor. The four-member Red Sword team stands together, lacking a scout, despite past deep exploration, raising concerns about handling traps effectively. Abel accepts responsibility for trap handling, having previously managed detection and disarming, despite lacking formal scouting skills during deeper expeditions. Over time, limited challenges dulled Abel's abilities, forcing the team to avoid traps instead of properly disarming them during progress. The group discusses theories about dungeon traps, believing the structure itself generates them, though scholars still debate the true underlying cause. They recall common traps like poison and pitfalls, while theories about monsters creating traps decline due to lack of supporting evidence. Lin and Raya confirm no traps or monsters appear, while Abel grows uneasy, noticing the abnormal absence of expected dangers. The team suspects the target moved beyond the 10th floor, concluding others likely advanced ahead, prompting them to consider following upward. Meanwhile, a large university expedition advances deeper, reaching the 12th floor, while concerns grow about unusual monster activity originating far below. Clive notices something unusual near the stairs, deciding it cannot be ignored, though the team previously rushed past without careful examination. The group discovers a large, dark portal embedded in the dungeon wall, its surface unnatural and clearly different from surrounding terrain. Clive analyzes the structure, concluding it connects to another space, though its destination remains unknown without further detailed investigation. He orders equipment prepared, naming it a gate, suspecting it relates to the cause behind the massive monster flood. Further study confirms the gate links elsewhere, suggesting it influenced disasters, though no similar phenomenon has ever been recorded before. Clive's group observes the gate closely, acknowledging their early investigation gives advantage, despite unexpected developments differing from their original plans. Researchers begin setting up equipment near the gate, working carefully to analyze its properties, while maintaining cautious distance from its surface. Clive watches the preparation, remaining alert as subtle disturbances occur nearby, suggesting the gate may react unpredictably to their actions. A cloaked figure suddenly extends a hand, preparing a spell, indicating possible interference or defensive reaction triggered during the investigation. A device on the ground activates or shifts abruptly, signaling an unexpected change, hinting the situation around the gate is becoming unstable. The gate suddenly shifts violently, producing a sharp sound as nearby equipment is disturbed, signaling unstable activity originating from its unknown interior. Clive and Arthur are introduced as leaders of separate research teams, both overseeing investigations into the dungeon's anomalies and emerging threats. Christopher leads another investigation group, moving cautiously while gathering information as his team advances slower but avoids unnecessary risks. Christopher monitors information flow carefully, using embedded spies within other teams to stay informed about their discoveries and movements. Both factions understand Christopher's intentions, allowing Clive's ambitions to continue, while quietly observing developments without direct interference for now. Clive's leadership pressures other factions, forcing them to appoint strong representatives, while both sides carefully avoid becoming tools under his influence. Christopher and Arthur are introduced as key figures, each possessing authority and experience, making them individuals even Clive must approach cautiously. Christopher prioritizes minimizing losses, organizing efforts efficiently while gathering information, ensuring human resources remain protected during dangerous dungeon investigations. He negotiates with scholars strategically, offering incentives and future opportunities, securing informants while maintaining control over the flow of critical information. Despite political maneuvering, Christopher treats dedicated researchers fairly, distributing funding based on results, earning trust while maintaining strict control over operations. Under Christopher's leadership, the Magic University prepares to enter the dungeon, positioning him as a strong candidate for future leadership. They deliberately time their deployment after receiving gate information, ensuring strategic advantage while avoiding suspicion regarding their knowledge sources. Christopher decides to observe indirectly, allowing Central University to lead dangerous research while his group minimizes direct exposure to risks. His team consists mostly of hired C-rank adventurers, with only a small number of actual university personnel entering the dungeon. Meanwhile, Central University assigns weaker D-rank adventurers across earlier floors, compensating for shortages caused by prior recruitment competition. Christopher confirms the route is secure, allowing safe descent toward the 11th floor as preparations conclude, and the team proceeds confidently. Upon arrival, Christopher senses something wrong, learning that the advancing group ahead has suddenly vanished without leaving any trace behind. Reacting immediately, he orders a full retreat, recognizing the situation's danger and prioritizing safety over continuing deeper investigation. The team withdraws while confusion spreads, leaving behind the secured area as uncertainty grows regarding what caused the disappearance. Christopher reflects on the incident, concluding the investigation has become dangerous and unpredictable, requiring reconsideration before any further dungeon exploration continues. Inside a large facility, a man approaches a control panel, noticing something unusual while others remain positioned around the area cautiously. Natalie turns back, sensing something wrong, her expression shifting as she reacts to the man's sudden change in behavior. The man discovers the detector signal has disappeared, causing confusion, while the woman struggles to understand the unexpected situation unfolding nearby. The sensor suddenly detects activity again on the 40th floor, alarming the man as signals fluctuate unpredictably during their ongoing investigation. Christopher receives the report calmly, ordering immediate notification to the guild, recognizing the situation may escalate beyond their current control. Christopher introduces himself formally, questioning authority while the man confirms responsibility, establishing leadership as they prepare to discuss the abnormal situation. The man hesitates, explaining uncertainty, while Christopher acknowledges his position and requests all gathered information regarding the strange dungeon anomaly. Christopher reveals a disappearance inside the dungeon, confirming suspicion through the man's reaction, indicating the situation involves something beyond normal expectations. He verifies the magic order's location, narrowing the timeline, while silently analyzing the connection between their presence and the unusual disappearance. Christopher explains detector systems and real-time tracking, suggesting deeper understanding, while implying unseen factors may be interfering with expected magical operations. The operator explains the signal vanished instantly after appearing briefly, leaving no trace while Christopher questions the timing and exact location. Christopher reacts with concern upon hearing the signal originated from the 40th floor, recognizing the seriousness of such an unprecedented depth. He recalls exploration limits, noting adventurers rarely pass the 38th floor, though strong parties under his command might attempt deeper advancement. Christopher considers that elite adventurers and the Red Sword Party may have vanished together, questioning whether reaching the 40th floor was possible. He orders immediate reporting to the guildmaster and prepares external contact, ensuring the situation receives attention while maintaining controlled response. Nina urgently senses trouble at the camp, as movement spreads quickly and a messenger runs through corridors to deliver critical news. She bursts into a room, calling out for her master, clearly alarmed as the situation escalates beyond normal expectations. Hugh listens calmly from his office, maintaining composure while preparing to hear the full report regarding the developing crisis. Nina relays Christopher's message, explaining the investigation team vanished inside the dungeon, urging immediate action from the guildmaster. Hugh reacts seriously, deciding to depart immediately, recognizing the disappearance signals a dangerous shift requiring direct intervention without further delay. Hugh gives strict orders to control information, limiting staff movement, while ensuring only essential personnel are dispatched to the dungeon outpost. He rushes through corridors, deeply concerned about the disappearances, recalling Abel and others, fearing the situation may worsen rapidly. Hugh arrives and meets Christopher's group, observing tense expressions as all parties prepare to exchange crucial information about the incident. Christopher explains that everyone inside suddenly vanished, including Clive's team, prompting Hugh to demand further detailed clarification immediately. He details multiple groups disappearing, including Arthur's team, while confirming magical tools triggered events, leaving the true cause still unknown. Hugh questions the 40th floor signal, while Christopher explains it appeared briefly, noting reaching that depth remains impossible under normal conditions. Christopher confirms no monsters exist below the 12th floor, but emphasizes the disappearance cause remains unknown, despite collected reports and observations. Hugh notes survivors might exist elsewhere, warning the phenomenon may repeat, while Christopher refuses risking subordinates under such uncertain dangerous conditions. Hugh decides to cancel contracts with local adventurers, asserting authority while shifting responsibility toward the Magic University's own personnel for investigation. Christopher accepts the decision calmly, agreeing to end contracts, as both sides acknowledge the situation cannot be resolved through conventional assistance. Abel regains consciousness in a dark grassy field, crouching cautiously as he senses unfamiliar surroundings, after being suddenly displaced from the dungeon. Nearby figures slowly emerge in the grass, their positions scattered, indicating multiple individuals were transported together without control over their landing locations. The group reunites, confirming each member's safety, as Abel checks on Rhea, Lynn, and Warren while assessing the unexpected situation. Arthur concludes they were teleported, noting others from the Magic Order experienced the same event, reinforcing the abnormal dungeon phenomenon. Arthur theorizes forced transportation to another location or floor, recalling similar past experiences, while questioning whether their sensors are functioning correctly. The group communicates using devices, confirming signals work, though uncertainty remains as Arthur doubts rescue will arrive quickly or reliably. Arthur questions the environment, sensing familiarity, while Rhea confirms the area resembles something known, raising concern about their current location. Rhea identifies the space as resembling sanctuary formation, a divine barrier technique used by high-ranking priests for absolute protection. Arthur explains the barrier nullifies attacks completely, recognizing its immense defensive power, suggesting they are inside a controlled, sacred magical construct. Abel concludes they are trapped within a vast barrier, prompting Arthur to order Lynn to scan surroundings for boundaries. Lynn activates a search spell, scanning the surroundings as energy spreads outward, attempting to detect life and confirm their situation. The results reveal around 1,000 humans nearby, alongside unknown beings, indicating a large group was transported into the same space. Arthur realizes multiple groups, including Clive's, were likely brought here together, confirming the scale of the incident is far greater, with no escape visible. The group decides movement is necessary, concluding they must head toward the detected concentration of life forms. Abel steps forward, leading the group through the field, accepting the uncertain path ahead, as they begin advancing toward others cautiously. Clive presses his hand against the ground, injured and exhausted, while struggling to rise as enemies surround him in darkness. Enemy mages launch fireballs toward Clive, illuminating the night as explosions spread across the field and threaten his weakened body. Clive orders nearby mages to deploy a magic barrier, preparing defenses while watching incoming attacks approach from multiple directions. The magic barrier activates, deflecting several attacks, as mages struggle to maintain it against continuous powerful impacts from enemy spells. The barrier weakens under pressure, forcing Clive and surviving mages to retreat, realizing their defense cannot hold much longer. Clive and a mage observe something strange ahead, both confused and tense, as they try to understand the unknown presence. The mage guesses it is a monster, noticing its tail, while Clive focuses ahead as multiple figures slowly emerge. Large grotesque creatures appear, towering over smaller ones, their distorted bodies revealing unnatural forms that shock the observing group. The creatures advance, showing massive limbs and long tails, moving together as a group, while surrounding smaller figures follow behind. Clive confirms the creatures resemble devils from literature, as both he and the mage prepare themselves, realizing the danger ahead. Clive observes a massive group of devils ahead, realizing their overwhelming numbers as fear spreads among the gathered fighters. The devils are described as powerful beings, known in tales as unstoppable creatures, enemies of gods, and resistant to magic attacks. A devil grins unnaturally, suggesting the stories may not fully explain their nature, hinting at hidden dangers beyond known information. Explosions rain down around the group, causing chaos and despair as defenses struggle, while the battlefield becomes increasingly unstable. A mage charges forward to attack while others prepare to move, coordinating actions as they attempt to survive the devil's assault. A knight charges forward and attacks a devil with his sword, striking decisively while showing determination to eliminate the approaching enemy threat. The devil retaliates immediately, knocking fighters away as flames and force scatter them, disrupting formation and causing several to fall. Abel regains awareness, while others confirm the enemy is truly a devil, understanding the rarity and danger of the situation. Arthur commands the magic squad to prepare a coordinated attack, organizing their formation while Clive continues maintaining the barrier under pressure. The squad releases a unified magic attack, firing a concentrated blast toward the devils as they attempt to break through enemy defenses. A devil blocks the incoming attack effortlessly, smiling as the powerful strike fails to damage it, revealing its overwhelming strength. Rhea observes calmly, explaining that coordinated attacks can break defenses, even if magic alone has little effect on devils. Arthur orders another attack, acknowledging devils can be defeated, but warns their numbers make the battle increasingly difficult to manage. Multiple spells strike the battlefield, consuming large amounts of mana, but the overwhelming number of devils makes victory seem unlikely. Abel prepares a new plan, suggesting Warren to close-range attacks while sensing a greater hidden danger approaching from within the battlefield. Warren and others charge forward in a single-column formation, breaking through enemy lines while focusing their strength into one concentrated assault. A devil reacts quickly, turning toward the attackers as one fighter prepares to strike, aiming directly at its exposed side. The devil counters with force, swinging its arm as fighters close in, forcing them to dodge while maintaining their coordinated attack. A precise strike lands across the devil's body, cutting through as the attacker focuses intensely, pushing forward despite the creature's resistance. The team continues advancing together, maintaining formation as Rhea leads forward, while the devil roars and prepares to retaliate again. The fighters press forward, striking multiple devils at once, attempting to overwhelm them with coordinated attacks despite the creature's resistance. Rhea notices Lin has exhausted his mana and orders Warren to provide cover as Lin is pulled back from danger. A devil suddenly attacks, swinging its arm toward Warren, who blocks with a shield while bracing against the heavy impact. The devil recovers quickly, countering by knocking nearby fighters away, disrupting their formation and creating openings in their defense. The devil continues its assault, striking Warren directly and sending him to the ground, gaining advantage as the group struggles to respond. The devil closes in on Abel, smiling as it prepares another attack, while Abel braces himself despite exhaustion and rising danger. Abel strikes fiercely, cutting into the devil's body and causing fragments to scatter, pushing the creature back momentarily. An explosion erupts nearby, forcing fighters to halt as the battlefield shakes, disrupting their advance and scattering their formation again. Abel and his allies regroup, noticing a larger presence among the devils, sensing a stronger leader commanding the overwhelming enemy force. Rhea explains the existence of a demon prince, warning that one may awaken as a demon king, increasing the threat. A horned figure stands calmly between devils, revealing itself as a higher being, while its presence overwhelms the battlefield completely. The figure watches silently as Abel considers a plan, deciding to defeat surrounding enemies first, while avoiding direct confrontation for now. Rhea suggests hope remains, questioning the barrier instability, while Abel considers unknown factors that may have caused the situation. Abel regains focus, deciding to eliminate weaker enemies first, acknowledging danger but remaining determined despite the overwhelming threat ahead. A sudden disturbance forms on the ground, surprising Abel as something emerges, signaling a new development in the chaotic battlefield. Abel confirms Rhea and others are safe, then moves alone toward the enemy, determined to confront the threat directly. The demon prince acknowledges Abel's choice, noting he separated allies, preparing to face him alone with confidence and control. Abel steadies himself, realizing he normally could not reach such an enemy, but now must fight directly without support. Attacks with his sword, Abel striking forward, but the demon prince reacts instantly, overwhelming him with superior speed and strength. The demon prince evades efficiently, showing power beyond human limits, while Abel recognizes the gap in ability and prepares carefully. Abel stands firm facing the demon prince, who comments on his confidence, while observing his stance and judging his combat ability. A powerful explosion erupts nearby, shaking the battlefield as Clive reacts, signaling that the wider fight continues beyond their duel. Observers realize their magic is ineffective, as every attack is deflected, suggesting the demon prince possesses complete resistance to spells. The demon prince attacks swiftly, striking Abel and overwhelming him with speed, forcing him back as pressure builds during the duel. Abel counters with a precise sword technique, advancing forward decisively as he attempts to overcome the demon prince's superior strength. Abel clashes directly with the demon prince, striking at close range, but the devil blocks effortlessly, showing no damage or hesitation. Abel realizes the gap in strength, admitting silently he cannot win, while Rhea watches in alarm as the demon prince stands dominant. The demon prince unleashes overwhelming power, forming a massive structure of force that crashes down, trapping Abel beneath its destructive impact. As the attack settles, Ryu emerges calmly from the destruction, stepping forward untouched, signaling a sudden shift in the battlefield. Ryu walks forward, calmly wearing white cloak, while darkness rises behind him, and the demon prince watches silently with tense expression. He advances across shattered space as floating fragments surround him, and the environment breaks apart under pressure from his magic. The demon prince appears earlier wounded and crouching, while observing surroundings carefully as fragments drift, showing damage from previous intense battle. Natalie runs urgently through city streets, climbing stairs quickly, while looking determined as buildings surround her and tension rises from unfolding events. She recalls warning about danger and needing help, while standing with another person realizing Ryu may face threat alone. Natalie breathes heavily, as remembered Abel's warning as the danger arrives. It depends on Ryu. Ryu stands inside room analyzing magical process, carefully realizing copper catalyst behavior, and understanding how potion formation works through controlled magical reaction. Ryu turns as Natalie appears at doorway urgently calling for help, while he reacts quickly noticing her distress and sudden situation. Natalie explains missing companions inside dungeon, while holding urgency as Ryu grips weapon preparing himself after hearing critical information about situation. Ryu accepts situation calmly securing weapon and deciding to move immediately, while telling Natalie they will discuss details during journey ahead. Natalie explains situation nervously during journey, while riding with Ryu as wagon moves forward, and her words come out disorganized. Information reveals researchers and royal mages vanished due teleportation, while evidence suggests movement deeper into dungeon though. Final destination remains unknown. Ryu walks beside wagon calmly acknowledging explanation, while understanding main situation as Natalie continues speaking, and environment shows steady travel movement. Natalie recalls Abel's words about trusting Ryu, while explaining reason for seeking him as he listens and questions her decision. Ryu understands situation mentioning Abel, then decides to head into dungeon alone, while Natalie watches silently as he moves forward. Ryu approaches dungeon entrance calmly as guards block path, refusing entry while he states identity, and continues forward without hesitation. He walks through invisible barrier, ignoring guards' warnings, as they react in shock realizing barrier failed to stop him entering dungeon. Inside dungeon, Ryu observes empty space, carefully noting absence of presence, while standing alone in vast area confirming nothing visible exists. Ryu considers situation calmly raising hand preparing magic, while accepting uncertainty and focusing on action instead of hesitation within unknown environment. He releases powerful attack striking ground forcefully, creating impact as surface shatters, revealing hidden structure beneath and exposing concealed dungeon mechanism. Ryu analyzes thick barrier, carefully sensing abnormal density while activating power and preparing to overcome obstacle blocking deeper area. He steps forward into battlefield, seeing multiple injured figures scattered across ground as he approaches cautiously observing their conditions closely. Kneels beside Abel, Ryu checking his condition while speaking calmly deciding to reset situation and stabilize environment before continuing further action. Ryu activates magic forming surrounding barriers and structures controlling space as pillars. Rise and area become stabilized under his influence. The demon prince appears wounded, but smiling as attack strikes area, while Ryu stands firm facing him preparing for next confrontation. Ryu observes fallen investigation team silently, walking through ruined area while recognizing situation severity and understanding many were overwhelmed suddenly. He checks Abel's condition carefully, while speaking calmly as Abel responds weakly, explaining injuries while acknowledging Ryu's arrival for assistance. Ryu stands over Abel, deciding to retreat temporarily, while explaining others are worried and situation requires regrouping before further dangerous engagement. Abel warns Ryu about Demon Prince's presence, while Ryu turns calmly, accepting threat and stating he will handle enemy without hesitation. He explains Demon Prince's nature seriously, while Ryu walks forward, dismissing concern, believing enemy strength does not match expected danger level. Ryu observes Demon Prince calmly, analyzing appearance and realizing identity, while noting fragile form compared to expected overwhelming demonic power. Multiple enemies rush toward Ryu, simultaneously surrounding him as he stands still, preparing counterattack while maintaining composure under sudden pressure. Ryu releases precise attacks, striking enemies instantly as their bodies break apart, mid-motion, showing controlled and efficient combat ability. Defeated enemies collapse around Ryu, leaving battlefield cleared quickly while he remains standing alone, unharmed within open space. Abel reacts in shock, unable to understand Ryu's actions, while Demon Prince watches silently, recognizing difference in power and control. Ryu faces Demon Prince calmly, while observing his weapon and presence, showing no fear as both stand ready within dark battlefield. He challenges Demon Prince directly while maintaining calm tone as tension rises, and both prepare for immediate confrontation without hesitation. Demon Prince attacks quickly, closing distance, while Ryu remains still, and counters instantly, stopping movement before strike fully connects. Ryu observes sudden result as Demon Prince's head is severed unexpectedly, while he questions moment and analyzes outcome carefully. Demon Prince continues moving despite fatal damage, while Ryu notes abnormal endurance, recognizing enemy resilience, and preparing for prolonged confrontation. Ryu observes Demon Prince regeneration calmly, while analyzing his speech and behavior, noting differences between expected intelligence and current unstable condition. He forms concentrated magic in his hand, then releases powerful attack forward, aiming directly at Demon Prince to test regeneration limits. The attack explodes on impact, causing massive destruction as Demon Prince's body breaks apart violently while still attempting to recover. After explosion, dust settles as Ryu stands steady, while distant figure remains barely intact, showing survival despite overwhelming damage received. Abel reacts with shock, realizing magic stone was destroyed, while trying to understand sudden change and unfamiliar sound echoing around battlefield. Ryu remains calm, walking forward as Abel watches, silently realizing Ryu expected outcome, and now continues advancing toward next phase. Ryu walks across a barren land at night while cloaked figures stand nearby, watching silently as tension slowly builds around them. He kneels and gathers dark energy from the ground, while another boy watches closely, surprised by the strange power forming there. Arthur explains the collected stone is black, revealing it is a rare devil magic stone unlike anything they expected. Ryu listens as the man recalls past battles with devils, confirming their existence and danger, causing Ryu to realize the situation. A massive devil appears before Ryu, towering over him as he stands firm, preparing himself to confront the overwhelming threat ahead. Ryu examines the black stone, realizing its color suggests darkness, while recalling that magic stones usually match the monster's attribute type. Questions the situation. Ryu, remembering their attacks used fire arrows, while figures stand among stones, suggesting something unusual about the enemy. Rahia explains, devils appear suddenly, and scholars debate their powers, noting no records exist, and sightings in the central nations are rare. Ryu wonders about space-time magic, but Rhea clarifies it is not among known elements, despite stories describing it as a common concept. Abel speaks about abilities like storage and teleportation, while Ryu listens seriously, showing interest in learning such powers, despite the uncertain explanation. Abel explains teleportation and storage would help hunting, while noting only one person in the central nations can use it. He reveals the Empire controls such power, explaining they would never allow freedom, causing Ryu to question the situation further. Abel describes Baron Benda as a tool for the Empire, constantly used for transport, suggesting his rare ability brings burden. Ryu reflects on the rarity, realizing only one person per generation has this power. Understanding why it feels more like a curse, the scene shifts to a glowing object under the night sky, symbolizing rare power, while Ryu quietly acknowledges how heroes carry such burdens. Far west of Lun, a lone structure stands across the barren land as distant figures gather. A group led by Roman advances under a dark sky, noticing strange energy above, while preparing themselves as something begins moving overhead. A massive floating landform descends from above, shaking the ground as energy surges, While a distant figure watches the event silently, a horned figure emerges swiftly from the impact. It was Leonor Araka, moving forward with calm intent, showing awareness and control despite the chaotic surroundings. Leonor recognizes the structure as an artificial altar, sensing something unusual nearby. The group confronts the horned figure, calling her Demon King, while preparing to attack, believing they must defeat her immediately. The altar glows as explanation reveals it summons the Demon King, confirming this encounter was intentionally triggered by their actions. Roman declares himself the chosen hero, while Leonor questions him calmly, acknowledging his role and observing his determination. Leonor accepts the challenge, inviting battle, confident in her strength while testing whether the hero truly deserves his title. The group activates protective and offensive magic, preparing enchanted weapons and defenses, while the horned figure watches silently, ready to respond. Leonor questions their strength, doubting their abilities, while the group insists Roman is the destined hero who will defeat her. She recalls past battles with Ryu, showing interest in Roman, deciding to observe his strength through a proper and direct confrontation. Leonor prepares calmly, inviting Roman to attack, while he charges forward confidently, determined to prove himself against the Demon King. Roman strikes with speed and force, launching a powerful attack, while Leonor reacts, analyzing his movement and strength carefully. The attack connects briefly, but Leonor remains standing, showing resilience as Roman continues pressing forward in the intense battle. Roman attacks rapidly with consecutive strikes, forcing Leonor Demon King to defend. While observing his speed and strength closely, Leonor blocks his attack and counters instantly, pushing Roman back as his movement shows controlled power and precise timing. She studies Roman's fighting style, noting his ability to switch between offense and defense while remaining calm and composed during battle. Leonor suddenly closes distance, surprising everyone watching as Roman fails to react in time to her sudden movement. She pierces Roman with her blade effortlessly, declaring the fight boring, ending the clash quickly, while Roman weakens from the fatal strike. Roman collapses after being struck, struggling to move while the horned figure stands calmly, observing him without concern for his condition. She warns the others they may attack if they wish, but reminds them helping the fallen hero should be their priority. Leonor approaches the altar and takes the orb, satisfied with the result, stating the battle still achieved her purpose. Roman protests weakly, denying her identity as Demon King, while she calmly clarifies she is not what they assumed. The group questions her true nature, confused by her strength, realizing she may be something unknown despite overwhelming power. Leonor denies being Demon King, explaining stronger humans exist, then introduces herself as Leonor, while encouraging the hero to grow stronger. Leonor advises Roman to surpass all humans, warning he must become far stronger, far beyond his current level, to truly fulfill his role. Roman remains injured on the ground as Leonor departs, leaving him with the realization that his strength is still insufficient. Back in Lune, the group regathers as everyone reports their return, while others prepare rest and recovery after the intense encounter. Hugh notices Ryu again, questioning his actions while the group stands together, reflecting on the battle and the mysterious events. Suddenly, Hugh scolds Ryu for acting recklessly in the dungeon, questioning his decisions. While others calm the situation and prepare to report, Ryu explains he was saved, while Hugh leads him away to rest as the group begins recovering after everything. Hugh questioned Arthur about devils appearing inside temple stories after surviving dangerous battles beside powerful demon enemies during expeditions recently. Arthur calmly praised Abel's strength while Hugh apologized nervously, realizing Arthur survived impossible encounters because Abel protected everyone from destruction. Hugh became shocked after Arthur explained Abel nearly died, fighting the demon prince, despite preventing their complete annihilation earlier alone. Arthur remembered Ryu suddenly arriving above the tower, destroying enemies immediately, while everyone struggled understanding his overwhelming water magic abilities. Hugh rejected Arthur's explanation immediately, because top water magicians around Arthur never displayed abilities matching Ryu's unbelievable power before now. Arthur explained dungeon walls regenerated quickly, making Ryu's destruction unbelievable because even powerful earth magicians failed breaking those ancient structures. He revealed Abel rescued Ryu from Devil's Mountain earlier, though nobody completely understood the mysterious young magician's true background afterward. Arthur described Ryu defeating the demon prince instantly while simultaneously eliminating powerful servants, leaving Hugh unable understanding such overwhelming strength completely. Hugh accepted Abel's judgment carefully after hearing Ryu possessed unmatched abilities, placing him beyond ordinary magicians across every known kingdom currently. Arthur believed maintaining peaceful relations with Abel remained essential, because Ryu supported him, making hostility dangerous toward their entire country afterward. Arthur decided hiding Ryu's identity remained necessary because careless nobles discovering his strength could create dangerous political conflicts afterward immediately. After leaving quietly, Ryu walked through crowded streets while searching peacefully for food during his relaxing time inside the capital city. Ryu suddenly noticed a curry restaurant nearby, attracted immediately by powerful spice aromas, spreading strongly across the busy marketplace area outside. The restaurant owner welcomed Ryu warmly after he entered calmly, finding the nearly empty dining area surprisingly quiet during afternoon hours. Ryu unexpectedly noticed Sarah already eating curry nearby. Realizing coincidence brought them together again inside the familiar restaurant unexpectedly today. Sarah invited Ryu beside her table, explaining the restaurant served famous curry meals enjoyed widely throughout Lune by adventurous travelers. Ryu ordered curry after learning customers could choose spice levels, though he remained unfamiliar with extremely spicy foods. Sarah selected medium spice confidently, while Ryu copied her choice immediately, surprising himself after misunderstanding the restaurant's unusual ordering system completely. She explained elves possessed fast metabolisms casually while asking about Ryu's residence, causing him embarrassment during their comfortable conversation inside together. Ryu revealed living inside the Adventurers Guild dormitory currently, while Sarah guessed his rank increased rapidly through difficult completed requests recently. Sarah praised Ryu's rapid promotion kindly, while Ryu awkwardly denied, appearing strong despite others misunderstanding his quiet personality frequently afterward. Ryu received medium spicy curry carefully, becoming surprised immediately after seeing the enormous portion placed before him inside the restaurant today. Ryu enjoyed the curry happily while asking Sarah why she rarely appeared inside the Adventurer Guild. Sarah explained she worked long-term requests while teaching swordsmanship for the Lune Frontier Count's Knight Order, recently within the royal territory. Sarah revealed she lived beside night quarters because her duties required constant service, while confidently mentioning her impressive combat strength casually. Sarah asked about Ryu's future plans, while he explained returning dormitory afterward, continuing peaceful alchemy research and golem creation studies there. Invited Ryu into a mock battle afterward. Sarah explaining dissatisfaction surrounded him earlier, when entering the feast house unexpectedly during lunchtime. Sarah believed Ryu still carried tension from yesterday's battle against the Demon Prince, preventing his fighting spirit from calming completely afterward. She suggested visiting night training grounds, because protective barriers and healing priests ensured safe practice battles without dangerous injuries occurring during combat. Ryu accepted Sarah's invitation calmly afterward, agreeing happily while preparing himself mentally for another challenging combat experience together soon. Sarah returned beside Ryu toward the massive training arena, while guards welcomed her respectfully upon entering the important night facility. She introduced Ryu formally before requesting permission, allowing both adventurers access toward the training grounds for their planned practice battle together. Sarah explained practice weapons remained available everywhere nearby, though Ryu questioned needing swords because he considered himself primarily a magician instead. She mastered both swordsmanship and magic simultaneously, surprising Ryu after confidently comparing their unusual fighting styles together. Nearby knights became curious watching Sarah challenge a magician publicly, while Ryu prepared himself carefully before beginning their upcoming sparring match. Sarah suddenly attacked Ryu, immediately after preparations ended, forcing him retreat quickly. Ryu defended himself desperately against Sarah's continuous attacks, watching her sword movements accelerate rapidly across the training grounds during combat afterward. Sarah increased her speed further unexpectedly, causing Ryu serious difficulty tracking her movements while struggling carefully. Ryu admitted Sarah's movements surpassed his expectations completely, while she praised him honestly for reacting against attacks impossible for ordinary knights afterward. Sarah realized Ryu experienced similar speed previously, then prepared fighting seriously afterward, while Ryu noticed her overwhelming presence becoming dangerously stronger immediately. Sarah continued attacking relentlessly, while Ryu defended carefully, realizing her thin body somehow produced overwhelming strength and frightening speed. Ryu compared Sarah's attacks toward his master's training previously, struggling continuously, while enduring repeated strikes using fragile practice weapons during combat. Ryu noticed Sarah's speed exceeded ordinary swordsmanship completely, forcing him defending desperately before his practice weapon finally reached dangerous breaking limits. Ryu realized Sarah unconsciously enhanced movements using wind magic, increasing her acceleration precisely through incredible magical control. Ryu understood defeating Sarah required unusual tactics immediately because her overwhelming speed, power, and magical control surpassed ordinary opponents completely during combat. Ryu realized Sarah strengthened every sword strike using wind magic skillfully, making her attacks heavier and far deadlier than expected previously. Sarah continued, while Ryu admitted surviving her overwhelming attacks already exceeded ordinary combat difficulty. His practice sword finally shattered completely during Sarah's powerful strike, forcing him stopping immediately before suffering direct damage afterward there unexpectedly. Ryu smiled calmly afterward, while admitting defeat honestly, causing nearby spectators watching the training battle loudly celebrate Sarah's overwhelming victory together happily. Sarah praised Ryu sincerely afterward, surprising him completely before suddenly hugging him tightly while he reacted awkwardly. With flustered, Sarah praised Ryu survived many powerful wind sword attacks, despite lacking proper defensive experience during combat previously. Ryu explained his swordsmanship originated from his master, while Sarah discovered the Fairy King personally taught him advanced combat techniques earlier. He revealed elves resembled half-fairies naturally, making Sarah realize immediately the robe originated from the respected Fairy King himself before. Sarah concluded the Fairy King favored Ryu greatly after gifting such valuable clothing, while admiring his unusual magical swordsmanship abilities afterward. Ryu remembered hearing similar statements recently elsewhere, quietly wondering whether his unusual connections truly appeared. Sarah explained the Fairy King remained legendary already, making Ryu's unusual relationship seem understandable. A maid suddenly approached Sarah respectfully afterward, announcing Lord Alfonso's training session would begin soon inside the noble estate nearby immediately. Sarah prepared leaving afterward, while explaining Lord Alfonso required her swordsmanship instruction regularly because he would eventually inherit noble authority there someday. Sarah revealed Alfonso once attacked her forcefully before, causing her crushing his shoulder brutally while correcting his unacceptable behavior. She warned local nobles carefully afterward, declaring she would personally kill Alfonso immediately if he repeated such actions against women again. Sarah introduced Ryu toward Riolita the maid, requesting the maid personally escort him safely outside the mansion grounds immediately. Riolita bowed politely toward Ryu afterward, introducing herself formally while expressing enthusiasm about serving alongside the important adventurer from today onward. She escorted Ryu toward the gate afterward, becoming completely overwhelmed internally, after realizing Sarah considered him an extremely important person. Personally, Ryu entered the crowded city beside Riolita, while Hugh's carriage traveled slowly through narrow streets near the enormous arena peacefully. Riolita and Ryu suddenly recognized a figure nearby, and stopped walking immediately, surprised seeing him unexpectedly standing beside the passing carriage during daylight. Hugh approached confidently and instructed Riolita, informing guild members about escorting Ryu personally before leaving together inside afterward that evening. Later, Ryu quietly sat beside Hugh inside the moving carriage, while both remained silent crossing the city roads during nighttime carefully. Hugh finally discussed yesterday's incident with Ryu inside the carriage, while encouraging him relaxing before their serious conversation began quietly. Hugh thanked Ryu sincerely after learning detailed reports from Arthur about yesterday's battle and the guild's dangerous situation afterward. Ryu explained calmly. He acted independently without orders, while Hugh continued appreciating his efforts protecting everyone during the unexpected attack. Hugh reminded Ryu his actions violated guild procedures, despite saving Abel twice, and preventing guards from stopping him forcefully yesterday. He decided assigning Ryu guild quests because he never accepted missions, despite registering earlier and remaining completely inactive until now. Hugh requiring 3 completed jobs quarterly while questioning his activities inside the Lord's estate recently. Ryu revealed that was just a mock battle. Nervously, Hugh questioned Ryu about possible property damage, while Ryu insisted their previous sparring match remained completely harmless and controlled. Ryu calmly answered, everyone survived safely, while the carriage continued moving quietly through empty streets during their serious discussion afterward. He remembered intense combat training where opponents attacked rapidly across the battlefield, while powerful strikes launched fighters violently backward repeatedly. The fierce battle expanded throughout the training ground, as several combatants exchanged attacks continuously, while distant observers watched carefully nearby afterward. 2 Imperial magic soldiers silently observed the training ground outside Debuhi Empire's capital, while monitoring ongoing combat activities from nearby positions. 2 Imperial officers waited silently beside the training ground wall, while discussing military matters involving recent combat evaluations and reports. Marie and Jürgen, adjutants serving Fiona and Oscar, arrived together wearing official Imperial uniforms during the important strategic gathering. Fiona Rubine Bornemisa appeared calmly before everyone while preparing discussions regarding Imperial Mage Order operations near the capital. Afterward, Vice Commander Oscar Luska explained their current progress reached operational limits, despite continuous efforts expanding Imperial magical forces during recent months. Fiona responded calmly that 4 companies remained significant achievements after 6 difficult months, despite Oscar's increasingly pessimistic concerns regarding future progress. Oscar ended the training session temporarily, while discussing slow military expansion and concerns about reaching division strength levels eventually afterward. Training unexpectedly continued after sudden attacks descended rapidly toward exhausted soldiers, still standing carelessly across the damaged battlefield afterward. Today one careless trainee collapsed painfully onto the ground, while another avoided danger too slowly during the surprise assault exercise afterward. A trainee accidentally released dangerous flames after panicking suddenly, while nearby soldiers reacted nervously during the chaotic training confusion. Afterward, Oscar angrily warned everyone remaining vigilant constantly because danger often appeared immediately after battles supposedly ended during training exercises. Fiona addressed every soldier formally while praising recent training improvements and announcing important instructions from division leadership before departure afterward. Fiona announced she and Oscar would travel tomorrow toward Withazan, while promising returning within 2 months for further inspections afterward. Fiona concluded the meeting confidently, while expecting greater improvements from every trainee, before returning and continuing future military evaluations afterward. The exhausted trainees stood silently across the training ground while listening carefully until Fiona completely finished delivering official announcements afterward. After training ended, several soldiers discussed their frightening experiences, honestly, while resting together beneath the open sky nearby afterward. Several trainees discussed painful training injuries while realizing the vice commander surprisingly treated exhausted soldiers more kindly afterward today. The soldiers believed strict training remained necessary because stronger abilities increased survival chances during future dangerous military battles afterward. Trainees compared overwhelming commanders' strength, while admitting entire divisions could never defeat powerful Imperial magicians during direct combat situations afterward. Fiona discussed attending Withazan's important port festival alongside Oscar, while preparing arrangements for their upcoming diplomatic journey afterward. Carefully, Fiona questioned Imperial orders involving Prince Conrad, while her subordinate listened carefully inside the large military conference chamber afterward. Oscar struggled speaking formally during discussions while Fiona and others questioned his unusual politeness inside the military chamber afterward today. He explained noble society required proper speech constantly, because upcoming diplomatic duties involved aristocrats for the next 2 months afterward. Fiona reassured Oscar respectfully, believing Imperial royalty appreciated his refined behavior, despite his previous informal speaking habits during official gatherings. Oscar admitted confusion regarding the Emperor's intentions while considering possible political motives behind sending him toward Withazan afterward carefully. Quietly, Oscar suspected the king planned dangerous actions during Fiona's absence, because Emperor Rupert deeply cared about his youngest daughter greatly. Fiona Rubin Bornemisa served proudly as Imperial Mage Order commander while carrying the status of Emperor Rupert's 14th child. She inherited beautiful features from the first queen while becoming the most admired princess among Rupert's many imperial daughters. Fiona dedicated herself entirely toward training and restoring the Mage Order while carrying Raven, Emperor Rupert's treasured ceremonial blade proudly. Emperor Rupert rebuilt the Imperial Mage Order into a battle-ready force after Fiona dismissed the previous ceremonial organization completely afterward. Fiona's leadership transformed the small unit into a dangerous military force, while demonstrating extraordinary magical abilities surpassing other Imperial princesses. Fiona mastered fire and light magic skillfully, while Emperor Rupert treasured her deeply because those powers supported battle and healing throughout warfare. While Oscar suspected political bloodshed approaching as rebellious nobles opposed Emperor Rupert, forcing dangerous purges throughout the increasingly unstable empire. Ryu joined Nils, Eto, and Eamon inside the tavern while discussing preparations carefully before beginning their first escort mission together. Ryu reassured Eto calmly that cooperating with another party improved their overall safety during the upcoming escort assignment greatly afterward. Amon trusted Abel's leadership experience completely, while Ryu listened quietly and observed everyone discussing the dangerous escort mission preparations carefully. At previous night, Abel explained escort formations carefully, while warning Ryu their assignment required protecting 5 carriages throughout tomorrow's journey safely afterward. He continued explaining formation strategies while the group finished dinner together and prepared mentally for tomorrow's difficult escort mission ahead. Abel explained DeLong's escort experience carefully, while discussing how their party should follow his positioning instructions during tomorrow's mission safely. Ryu walked beside Eto, Eamon, and Nils through the city while discussing their unusual 3-person party name together afterward. Nils explained party names followed few restrictions, while believing their chosen name reflected the group's personality and behavior accurately afterward. Ryu recalls Abel described various adventurer party names throughout Loon City, while comparing them with famous groups and experienced adventurers afterward carefully. The group continued discussing strange party names, while several nearby adventurers listened quietly during their walk through crowded streets afterward. Ryu, Eto, Eamon, and Nils crossed the quiet city streets together, while searching carefully for their escort gathering location afterward. Hugo introduced himself proudly while confirming Room 10 accepted the escort request and would cooperate with merchant guards during transportation. Several merchant wagons waited outside the city while DeLong's party coffee maker prepared carefully for the escort mission departure afterward. Hugo greeted DeLong respectfully while introducing Room 10 members before both parties discussed responsibilities regarding the dangerous escort operation together afterward. DeLong welcomed Room 10 warmly after hearing Abel's recommendation, while everyone prepared seriously for their first joint escort assignment together. DeLong explained the escort route carefully, while merchant wagons prepared traveling 13 days between Loontown and Withazen, safely afterward. Because the mission required extended protection duties, every escort member received higher payment than ordinary merchant transportation requests afterward today. Ryu understood the assignment suited lower-ranked adventurers despite remaining dangerous, because escorts temporarily gained permission acting freely during emergencies afterward. Room 10 accepted the request mostly through luck, while Ryu secretly valued opportunities eating seafood again, after long periods afterward. DeLong assigned Ryu protecting the rear wagon beside Gun and John, while the escort group finally prepared departing together afterward. The merchant convoy finally departed from Loontown, while Ryu quietly walked beside the rear wagon, protecting supplies carefully afterward. Gun and John questioned Ryu about his magical attribute, while escort members continued traveling steadily beside moving merchant wagons together. John explained water attribute users remained extremely rare among adventurers, while Ryu listened quietly during their continuing conversation afterward. Together, Gun mentioned Abel highly praised Ryu recently while expecting impressive achievements from him during the dangerous escort mission ahead afterward. Today, Ryu suddenly remembered Abel promised buying dinner later while the escort group continued their long journey toward another distant town afterward. The escort group learned Withazen's festival lasted 1 week while merchants allowed adventurers enjoying free time afterward during their stay. John explained the route remained mostly safe because guards regularly patrolled roads between Loon and Withazen throughout merchant transportation periods. Ryu learned long escort missions became unpopular because adventurers still paid lodging costs despite remaining away from Loontown afterward. He questioned DeLong's unusual party name while walking beside the wagon during their continuing escort journey afterward together peacefully. Ryu remembered coffee machines from Earth immediately after hearing coffee maker's name because his previous workplace served excellent coffee daily. John explained coffee maker originated from DeLong's grandfather, while Ryu listened carefully during their continuing discussion about party names afterward. Ryu remembered never drinking coffee since arriving in Phi and laughed after hearing DeLong's strangely familiar family name afterward today. The escort convoy continued traveling peacefully the next day, until Nils suddenly noticed unusual activity beside nearby merchant wagons afterward. Several adventurers gathered beside damaged wagons while travelers stopped temporarily and inspected broken transportation equipment carefully afterward together nearby. DeLong explained. Another adventurer group likely repaired the damaged wagon while Nils observed the situation cautiously from nearby afterward. DeLong explained let's all become blacksmiths repair damaged wagons regularly while Nils hurried ahead after suddenly recognizing coffee nearby afterward. The blacksmith party informed travelers about Withazen's ship festival before the escort convoy resumed traveling safely toward the distant port city. DeLong described the blacksmith party's unusual composition while explaining every member possessed exceptional blacksmithing abilities, despite remaining active adventurers afterward. Nils finally understood the blacksmith party repaired caravans voluntarily because they genuinely enjoyed helping struggling travelers along dangerous roads afterward. DeLong explained Loon adventurers remained unusually kind-hearted because Abel's influence encouraged cooperation and generosity throughout the city's adventurer community afterward. After arriving safely at Withazen, the escort members received lodging arrangements before enjoying temporary freedom until departure 10 days later afterward. DeLong organized room assignments carefully, while Nils' group accepted the larger room and Ryu approved the arrangement immediately afterward. Peacefully, the escort members separated temporarily across Withazen while promising reuniting again. After 10 days beside the crowded harbor district afterward, Room 10 completed their first escort mission successfully, after reaching Withazin safely without encountering serious dangers throughout the outbound journey afterward. Nils suggested exploring outside together for food, while Ryu happily agreed after finally arriving safely inside the busy port town. Ryu happily explored Withazin's harbor district while tasting seafood dishes, and becoming especially excited about fish and chips afterward today. Amon and Nils enjoyed various seafood snacks together, while Ryu smiled happily walking through the crowded market streets afterward, peacefully. The following morning, merchant wagons prepared departing Withazin, while seabirds flew above the busy port town repeatedly throughout sunrise afterward. Several horses suddenly became restless beside the merchant carriage, while the escort members prepared carefully before beginning their return. Journey afterward, Rand noticed unusual problems near the carriage immediately, while nearby adventurers approached cautiously and observed the confused horses afterward carefully. He informed the royal carriage about procedural delays involving Kufari's officials before requesting further instructions from the prince afterward. Third Imperial Prince Conrad Steinborn-Amisa remained calm inside the carriage, while refusing involvement with foreign administrative matters afterward, peacefully. Conrad quietly remembered the sea's nostalgic scent while observing the harbor surroundings and reflecting upon distant memories afterward, silently nearby. He considered imperial ambitions regarding maritime control carefully, while recognizing possible political complications surrounding future territorial expansion afterward, seriously. The prince proceeded toward the Lord's manor afterward, while attendants prepared scheduled meetings and an official banquet during his temporary stay. Conrad arrived at the Lord's mansion while gently worrying about Fiona's exhaustion during the formal evening gathering afterward peacefully nearby. Lord Roxley informed Fiona she could rest privately after tomorrow's schedule, because important meetings and ceremonies would continue afterward extensively. Conrad returned quietly later that evening, while attendants welcomed him respectfully inside the darkened mansion corridors afterward formally nearby peacefully. Fiona collapsed, exhausted across her bed immediately after returning, while Marie watched carefully and criticized Conrad's exhausting social expectations afterward, quietly. A maid named Marie explained Fiona preferred military training over noble gatherings, while believing Conrad's kindness alone never caused such exhaustion afterward completely. Fiona worried her presence burdened Conrad's delegation, while Marie immediately denied such negative thoughts during their private discussion afterward quietly. Fiona explained she represented the imperial delegation officially beside him while carrying responsibility for their empire's reputation during negotiations afterward. Marie admired Conrad deeply after realizing his careful words protected Fiona from possible political misunderstandings and diplomatic consequences afterward completely. She praised Fiona's exceptional swordsmanship and magical abilities proudly, while Fiona listened silently beside her afterward calmly nearby inside peacefully. Conrad reflected quietly beside Withazin's harbor, while comparing Fiona's strength and magical talent with traditional noblewoman afterward thoughtfully alone. During Withazin's port festival, crowds gathered beside decorated ships, while several important guests appeared publicly before cheering citizens afterward enthusiastically. Ryu immediately recognized Abel among the important guests, while nearby festival visitors watched the ceremony carefully from crowded streets afterward. Eamon, Etio, and Nils admired Abel proudly after noticing him seated beside a beautiful imperial princess during the formal celebration afterward. Ito reminded Nils the elegant woman beside Abel belonged to imperial royalty, making romantic interest completely unrealistic afterward during conversation nearby. Ryu jokingly questioned Nils about dating the princess while embarrassed reactions spread throughout the crowded festival gathering afterward, humorously. Nils confidently claimed surpassing Abel remained necessary before pursuing romance while nearby adventurers dismissed such impossible ambitions afterward, jokingly together. Ryu unexpectedly noticed Abel's companions nearby during the crowded festival, while realizing the important guest seated publicly was genuinely Abel afterward. Riznia explained Abel officially represented Loon City's guild temporarily, because the actual guildmaster remained occupied elsewhere afterward. Currently, she revealed Abel received official recognition after previous dangerous missions, involving Ilarian and Royal Court mage investigations afterward recently. Ryu learned the Red Sword fought devils, previously after investigating dungeon disturbances, connected directly to Ilarian's suspicious warning letter, afterward. Ryu learned powerful wind barriers, protected the VIP area while Lin and Rhea explained rare defensive magic surrounding important Imperial guests afterward. Carefully, they explained the barrier consumed enormous energy continuously, because protecting Imperial royalty from sabotage remained absolutely necessary afterward, constantly. Ryu realized Imperial military leaders attended the festival too, while understanding any attack could immediately trigger catastrophic international war afterward. Lin described terrifying rumors surrounding the Empire's Inferno magician, claiming he destroyed armies, wyverns, and entire towns alone previously. Ryu listened quietly to exaggerated stories about the vice commander, while wondering privately whether those unbelievable rumors were actually true. Afterward, Ryu listened uncertainly while nearby festival visitors discussed dangerous imperial figures and warned others avoiding involvement with them afterward carefully. He decided enjoying the festival peacefully with friends instead, because Abel remained occupied escorting important VIP guests afterward throughout celebrations. Ryu walked through crowded festival streets happily while appreciating his successful magical copper ore assignment completed previously without serious trouble. Afterward, Ryu accidentally bumped into Oscar within the crowd before both apologized politely to each other afterward immediately. The Imperial Vice Captain Jurgen explained. He carried supplies toward his captain while struggling through the crowded festival streets afterward carefully nearby. Vice Captain Jurgen teased Oscar about desperately buying fish and chips despite sitting proudly inside the important VIP festival section afterward that evening. Jurgen guided Oscar through crowded festival streets while carefully listing prepared foods and searching nearby stalls for fresh fish afterward before returning. He instructed Oscar keeping purchased meals heated properly, because delivering cold food would certainly anger their strict commander afterward tonight during duty. Oscar heated packaged festival meals effortlessly using magic, while observers realized Princess Fiona alone could command him so casually afterward without resistance.